Police are mobilizing in Los Angeles, in Philadelphia, in New York. Many other cities are preparing for tomorrow's Global Day of Jihad. I hope everybody is safe. We talked a bit about it on the members only show. There are people who are quite concerned after the former leader and a current member of Hamas called for Muslims around the world to engage in jihad to show Israel and the U.S. up or something like that. And there's now serious concerns about security issues. While we are concerned, there are many news outlets saying that these are just protests. They're calling for protests. That's it. Okay, we'll see. Stay safe, everybody. At the same time, the protests we are seeing from far leftists at various universities, they're chanting, there is only one solution. I kid you not. That's what they're chanting. The full chant is there's only one solution, intifada revolution. But for what reason would they chant one solution? Because the people understand what that means and refers to. So we're going to talk about that and a bunch more. Before we do, my friends, head over to castbrew.com and buy yourself some Cast Brew coffee. If you want to support the show, you can go to Cast Brew, buy coffee, and not only are you helping us perform the jobs that we do, you are going to get the best cup of coffee you've ever had. My personal favorite is Appalachian Nights. Close second is Rise with Roberto Jr., but I got to be honest, Rise with Roberto Jr. sells the best. We also have Mr. Bocus Pumpkin Spice Experience, which is very good. Stand Your Ground's a medium roast. We've got whole bean, we've got ground, we got K-Cups. Man, it's all coming along. You can join the Cast Brew Coffee Club if you want to get a couple bags every month. Get to it. And then we're going to have our Halloween re-rise with Roberto Jr. coming up soon. Also, head over to timcast.com, click Join Us. Become a member, support our work directly, and there's going to be a members-only uncensored show coming up for you at 10 p.m. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. And as a member, you get access to our Discord server and can even submit questions to us. So smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and a whole lot more is Blaire White.
You had me on a very non-controversial week, right?
The most controversial.
Right. Got a lot to talk about.
Who are you? What do you do?
Oh, yeah. Blaire White, been here a few times, but always excited to be back. YouTuber, I guess influencer TM. I do a lot on the internet, so.
Well, right on. Thanks for hanging out.
Yep.
We got Brett Dasovic.
What is going on, guys? Yes, my name is Brett Dasovic. I am the host, one of the hosts of Pop Culture Crisis, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on YouTube. Happy to be here.
And I'm Ian Crossland. Hello, everyone. Last night after the show, a little late at night, 12 o'clock or so, I decided to go live on Twitter on X and did a space about God. And I realized at some point, like, it's less about me telling people. I just want to hear what you think it is. So I'm going to do that again tonight. It's going to be later. Just keep an eye on my Twitter. And I want to hear from you and see how you define this whole situation. It was really, really amazing. So thanks to everyone that came out.
You mean X?
It was all happening on X, Tim.
You had an X space.
I was on X last night. I did.
Do you think
space
when
on
people,
X?
When people are in Elon Musk's rocket, SpaceX, they'll be having an X space?
X space and SpaceX rocket for sure.
We
Yeah.
just call it Twix.
Yeah.
It uses both of them.
You know, people around him still say Twitter, and he gets mad. You just know that happens.
But like if we're gonna use like a thumbnail that involves people talking about stuff that happened
Twix
there,
is more confusing.
we use Twitter still.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's the only time we still use Twitter.
Right. Where we got Serge hanging out.
Yeah.
I only like Twix because it's left, right Twix. You know, left Twix, right Twix.
Perfect.
Anyways, you guys can find me on Twix at Serge.com. Let's get started.
All right, everybody. Here's the big story. We have this from Los Angeles Magazine. LAPD to increase patrols after Hamas urges Global Day of Jihad on Friday the 13th. Jeez, talk about just like, wow. Friday the 13th? Come on.
What a perfect alignment. And I'm flying tomorrow.
We have
On a
this.
flight you guys booked.
That's right.
Thanks.
We have this from the Philly Police Department. Public safety alert. PPD response to conflict in Israel and Gaza. In response to the ongoing conflict, the Philadelphia Police Department is taking proactive measures to ensure the safety and security of our communities. We have increased patrol and patrols around religious institutions, and all available officers have been placed in uniform and deployed strategically around the city to offer reassurance. Visibility is a key element of our approach, blah, blah, blah. You get the point. And then, of course, we have the softening of the issue. This one, I'm sorry, this one really pissed me off. This pissed me off a lot. New York Post writes, NYPD orders all cops to report in uniform after ex-Hamas chief calls for global protests.
And they're going to be most.
Is that what they call it?
He called
now?
for jihad. Isn't that right?
He said jihad.
Yeah, jihad is there's a violent force involved in jihad. To be honest, I don't want to
force.
speak for.
It refers to struggle. Jihad means struggle.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Telling-
maybe he's not calling for violence. then.
Following,
He is.
Yes, he is.
He is, for
Following the terror attacks that we just saw in Israel, him coming out and saying, because Israel is bombing Gaza, there should be global jihad. Yo, he's not saying to wave little flags.
And they were already the other day softening the language from terrorist on like what, right? So that's already
What was
been
that? What was that?
MSNBC, right?
Well, MSNBC, right. But it's not just MSNBC. There was a leaked email. It was the Telegraph or something like that. I don't know. I don't want to besmirch a newspaper, but so I'm not sure. But there were like leaked messages. Some newspaper was like, don't call them terrorists, call them gunmen.
Oh my God. I mean, that's the same here, right? It's like we've seen incidents of our quote unquote protests that are actually just domestic terrorism. And one of the ways they actually get it through is by softening that definition, and they stick to it. So it's terrifying, you know?
Makes me think of when we had when Obama was in office, when there was military age men. Remember that? Instead, like when they were using the term military age men, which just means like adults.
I was so young. I don't
They've been saying that a lot about the people that are
Yeah.
immigrating,
Yeah.
you know, illegal immigrants.
The
Well, they were
Summer of
saying it
Love.
around like
Y'all remember
people
that?
dying overseas, and they're saying the men that died were military age men. That doesn't mean that they were actually,
yeah, like
combatants.
42-year-old farmer,
Exactly.
or 33-year-old teacher or something.
Right.
And we've had mostly peaceful protests now since 2020. So.
Exactly.
Did you see the protests in France? And we might even get to this. I don't know if you have the story queued up, but they were pro-Palestine, protests, riots. I don't know, it was protests. Then the government said, no, it's illegal. You can't do that. So now they're protesting that the government made the protests illegal, and then stuff's getting burned.
You know, it's funny because this country used to be completely unified in their support for Israel, Democrats and Republicans, and now the Democrats are in a serious hard place because, the young progressive Democrats hate Israel and are pro-Palestine.
Is the internet, the liberal economic order did not see the internet coming, or maybe they had an idea, but they did not. I don't think they understood the amount of understanding that would come from these clandestine things that they've been doing. Like the Balfour Declaration was not public knowledge till like 5 days ago. Now people know that the British set up
5 days ago?
Like all of a sudden now people it's like trending on Twitter. I see people talking about Balfour Declaration. This is like the British and French setting up Israel, the colony, the British mandate for Palestine after World War I. They seized it from the Arabs. They tricked the Arabs, and then they betrayed the Arabs and took it.
Well, let's not also forget, just to add to my fear of tomorrow, not that I want to manifest anything to happen, obviously, I've been hearing about a red heifer.
Yeah.
They're fulfilling a prophecy tomorrow as well.
Not tomorrow.
Or it's been fulfilled and tomorrow's like the
Well,
day
no.
it's fulfilled.
It's that on September 8th, there was reports that like the red heifer was born or something. And so people are trying to bring about the Messianic era or whatever. But that's in line with, there's also been a conspiracy theory. I think Alex Jones has talked about this. I think this was Alex Jones. There are people who are trying to make prophecy happen, Revelation. So instead of looking at it like these things will happen, they're looking at it like we must make these things happen.
Which is playing God, even if you believe in the prophecies. And that's
So the people have been talking about this. There's concern that in September there was a story about the red heifer or whatever, and I looked it up, and it's from forward.com. I mean, this is I think .com. It's like a Jewish publication talking about what it could mean, and if it is a pure red heifer, it means they can like purify the ground or whatever. So the fears is that tomorrow something bad happens, and then Israel people will tear down the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem or something like that. I don't know enough about it. All I know is there's like a whole lot of weird, like crazy religious stuff going on.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, which is Friday the 13th, and there's an eclipse on Saturday too, right? Yeah, the Ring of Fire eclipse is Saturday. Is that true?
It passes through North America.
Yep.
And of course, it's the Ring of Fire, not a normal eclipse. Ring of Fire. Okay, great.
Yeah, I think the red heifer is something that someone figured out in like 1989. From when I read about this, so everyone can we've been talking about it a lot. We haven't actually figured the whole story out. Red heifer has to do with something that someone read into the Bible. They saw this stuff that mentioned red heifer. This was like Moses era. So this is a while ago. This is within Judaism. I don't know how much that has to do with the apocalypse now. I don't know what else it means, but a lot of reading. I'm gonna go
It's
do.
just all weird.
So tomorrow is the global day of jihad on Friday the 13th, and Saturday is the Ring of Fire eclipse.
I should not have smiled in that thumbnail. I looked crazy. I mean,
I
the
am
title, and then
I'm going to spend the day in the emergency bunker playing Baldur's Gate 3 and just lock the door and turn the lights off.
that's smart.
Wait it out.
I thought it was weird
wait it out.
that September 11th happened on 9/11.
Yeah, I've always thought about that actually.
But
But-
why though?
I don't. It was because
Well,
it's
it's
like the
just
emergency
eerie.
number.
What if it happened on like 3/14? People would be like, "Whoa, pi." You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
people-
yeah,
what was
but,
it? The-
but it was
the
like
movie, the number
911
23.
emergency.
Right. People always like, the numerology stuff.
Yeah.
People look for numbers. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
you're going to see a whole lot of things that have the number 17 or whatever.
It's like numerical pareidolia. You just read into it what you want.
It was very convenient that I kept getting flashed 911 in front of my face over and over and over again on the news. I don't know if that was a coincidence or not.
There's something to that, actually, I guess. I mean, that's some kind of that programming, like, be afraid, emergency, as if it wasn't clear enough, but I get that. But to bring it back to what Tim was saying really quick about how, you know, people are, like, younger college students now are sort of super pro-Palestine, and then people are kind of realizing how demented that is. It's like it brings it to Black Lives Matter yesterday, or was it the day before with the parachute imagery that they did.
Yep.
You know, that's so sick because there's not even any gray area with that. It's not as if you want to make some sort of nuanced argument that it's even really about Palestine now. It's just directly about Hamas and directly about the murder that occurred, the murders and the rapes.
And they doubled down.
Yeah.
They came out and they were like, we weren't proud of that, but we stand by the people who will do anything necessary. It's like,
right. But, you know,
Okay,
terrorists link up with terrorists. They stick together, birds of a terrorist feather, because that's, if you're clued into the actions of Black Lives Matter for the past few years, especially, if you're not just now associating the word terrorist or domestic terrorism with Black Lives Matter. You've known that all along. But now it's interesting to see people, it takes something happening a sea away for them to sort of question
That's
those
crazy.
actions. Yeah, where it's like, okay, well, you also could have, not to compare obviously Hamas and even the most egregious Black Lives Matter actions, two different worlds, but, you know, you also could have noticed that when Chicago was burning, San Francisco was burning.
Minneapolis.
You know, right, pick a city,
Yep.
you know, so it just takes, it's interesting, it takes something somewhere else for people to be like, oh, maybe those are the bad guys.
Think about all the Fortune 500 companies that really, really latched on to that now, too.
Yep.
Do they walk that back? Like the NFL, does the NFL still put Black Lives Matter at the end zone? I don't know, but they would have something to answer for
Right.
Well,
if that
now-
is in fact true.
now every conservative can just, as soon as they see that message from any corporation, call them and be like, why are you supporting Hamas?
Just pull up that parachute
Yep.
image. Yeah, I was on a podcast recently, and it was a liberal podcast, and they asked me about, they're trying to address all my controversy. One of them was that I'm anti-Black Lives Matter, and they act like it was going to be a big gotcha. And I'm like, is it really that weird? Because it's very similar to PETA. It's like they have that platitude name, Black Lives Matter. Who would disagree with that? People for the ethical treatment of animals. Who wouldn't want to treat animals ethically? You have to look at the actions. It's not just a name. You have to look deeper.
Well, when
So-
you're in a cult, you don't.
Right. And when you're, you know, easily influenced and bullied into believing things and just have a default response. But again, the fact that it takes something happening a sea away, it's like they had our country on fire too, you know?
It's interesting that NYPD is ordering all. I love how they phrase this, though. Look at this story. They order all cops to report in uniform after a call for protests. Yo, are you kidding me with this?
I would have
They're
cops,
not mobilizing every cop over protests. This is despicable.
I hope they have cops in plain clothes with sniper rifles, like in windows and stuff. Like
New
they
York
don't put them all
does.
in the street and like just have them in plain sight. They become targets. You got to have them hidden and ready.
Yeah, NYPD's crazy. I think they have like expeditionary forces. I
You
think
know
the
what?
NYPD has intelligence that leaves the city.
And isn't it the only like police department in America that has like their own terrorist unit, like anti-terrorism unit?
I don't know.
I believe.
Maybe.
Like they have their own counterterrorism unit.
I think the thing
Oh, yeah,
that
that-
makes it like particularly in like disturbing in a familiar way is it's that buildup of energy where I remember like right before COVID really hit the fan and the world changed, there was kind of a buildup of energy right before where it's like, okay, you're hearing things about something in China, but couldn't happen. And then it did. And the world shut down.
Taiwan.
It feels
Yeah.
kind of like that. And again, not to manifest anything or will it into
Well,
existence.
knock on wood. Let's jump to the story. We got this from the Post Millennial. Faculty, students, and alum at University of Washington rally in support of Hamas terror group. Yo, check this video out. Greg Price has it. I'm going to play this for you. You ready? Here we go.
Oh my gosh.
So let me just break it down for you. They're saying there is no peace on stolen land, and there is only one solution: intifada revolution. So I want to make sure the full context is there, but you know everybody understands the reference to there is only one solution, right?
That
They're
part.
chanting that on purpose.
That was
they
Hitler,
don't.
man.
Yeah, they don't need to say that to So when these leftists come out And they're saying things like, they go, it's an open air prison and these people just want to peacefully return to their homes. I'm like, no, they don't. They're screaming from the river to the sea. Yeah, they want to destroy Israel.
Define peace, because I don't think that word really means what you think it means when you say that.
Yeah, if you obliterate the surface of Earth, it will be peaceful after that. But that's not the kind of peace I'm looking for.
Interesting idea. Maybe that's how we bring about world peace.
Through a great reset, through fire and
fire and brand and cataclysm.
Where was that?
That was, I think, University of Washington.
There's just something so interesting about it happening to sheltered Americans protesting something that's happening, as far as they're concerned, a world away. And I really do think that the internet, I don't think human beings were really ever designed or created to really handle what the internet can provide for them in this respect, meaning that you lose an insane amount of perspective to what's going on when you take that vociferously to something that you can't even experience firsthand or even would ever want to experience firsthand.
That's as it was, the video was playing. Serge, I saw you shaking your head. You look pissed. Was it like, were you just picturing what these people would be experiencing if Hamas was to take over as their government? Like, what was going through your head when you heard them screaming that?
It's just sickening to see people that are living this first world lifestyle, going to university, getting everything paid for in a lot of cases, and chanting for the death of the people across an ocean when they have nothing to do with the conflict. They don't understand the roots of the conflict. They don't understand anything else. They just know this is current thing, and the current thing I have to spend on this side. And you know what? I'm free today. I'm going to go rally for whatever because I want to make sure that I get cool social points. It's sickening to me.
You have this other video. Let me play this one for you.
Allowed. They want our people dead. They want us killed.
How is it allowed, she asks. The tweet says, Jewish students at UW campus witnessing the pro-Palestinian rally break down. They want us dead. How are you allowing this? I will only say, young women, wipe your tears. They're allowed to speak. And I'm glad they're speaking, and you should be happy they're saying these things. Because now you know who they are and who to avoid. Yeah. Imagine if there are people who are trying to kill you in secret. I'll put it this way. If like there's someone's gunning for you, they want to take your life, and they're lurking in the shadows, and you never even knew it was coming. Yeah, that's horrible. But what if you got advanced warning? You go to the cops, right? You can say hey, like someone's coming after me. That's the point of free speech. So we get to watch a video where they chant that. I think it's fair to say I'm not taking their word for it when they're saying things like no peace on stolen land. There was a Yale professor who said settlers are not civilians, and they're chanting there is only one solution. Like, bro, the left lies. It's what they do. They say we're just defending ourselves as they throw bricks and firebombs at people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how many times can you fall for it, first of all, but also kind of what you were saying about the whole idea of protesting, even if it's peacefully about something a sea away, is particularly, I think it's harmful on a level that they don't understand, obviously, because they're removed from it, but also you're influencing what that country kind of does in a way. The same way we were talking about COVID with all and in the middle of that, all the George Floyd stuff. It's like, why is London protesting someone that was killed on our land? Why is the UK and Paris, like, why? And it's you don't understand what's going on. And that's one of the things that's uncomfortable on days like this, where obviously, our job is to talk about politics, but it's hard to really say what we want to happen or what should happen. And then it's also even harder because they're so comfortable saying what they want to happen. Yeah. You kind of feel like you have to, but we don't understand it here fully like that.
Well, the funny thing is when George Floyd happens, you get all the conservatives being like, okay, like this was bad, we agree. And the left being like, see, we told you, Black Lives Matter. Then the video comes out where it shows you a bit more nuanced take on what happened with the George Floyd incident. And you still have conservatives being like, we've had conservatives come on the show and be like, yeah, okay, we saw the footage, but we still think it was bad what happened. And now you look at this. Now you look at what happened in Israel, and you have the reasonable approach of, we don't like it when civilians are killed. Yes, Gaza is it's a horrible situation. We're trying to resolve this. What can we do? And then you have the left cheering for the violence, cheering for the killing of civilians, calling for more, chanting in the streets, there's only one solution. Like, dude, just stop believing them. They're lying to you.
They go straight to it. Oh my God.
And they're going to come out now and be like, no, that's not what we mean. I was like, I don't even want to hear it, dude. Like, there's a really funny video Andy No tweeted where a guy claims that when you go to what does he say? When you go to a leftist rally or whatever, there's Palestinian flags. When you go to a white supremacist rally, it's Israeli flags. And then he claims that they only chant free, free Palestine. Meanwhile, people on the right chant death to Arabs, which literally is not a chant and does not occur or appear in any of the rallies held by people on the right.
Yeah,
which
I'm
is
racking
insane.
my brain. I'm like, when was that?
Oh yeah, I saw that video.
Right.
Yeah.
They just lie. They're making things up
Right.
and they want to kill people.
And one of the twisted things about leftist rallies and protests and all the things that are actually not protests because they're violent, having lived in LA during all of COVID, is that you realize they're actually kind of parties. Like they'll be doing this crazy rhetoric and this groupthink, but the 90% of people who show up are because their friends are there
Exactly,
and they're
exactly.
showing up. Whereas even the most intense right-wing rallies, which again, I'm racking my brain to think of really like the worst ones, people are there at least intentionally.
Yeah.
And at least they've had like a minute of thought about what they're saying and how the impact it may have. Whereas these people show up and they're like, oh, Rebecca's over here and she's talking about no peace until what? It's like, that doesn't mean you have to.
Look at this story. This is from the Post Millennial. They go on. When reached for comment about the rally for terrorists, UW spokesperson Victor Balta told the Post Millennial on behalf of UW President Anna Koss, as a public institution that abides by the First Amendment, the UW neither monitors nor takes any action against individuals or student organizations for engaging in protected speech. However, Koss has a track record of attempting to prevent speech. In 2019, the UW College Republicans held a bake sale to demonstrate racism from affirmative action by charging different prices based on ethnicity and gender. In response, Koss released a statement condemning the event, and despite claiming the university needed reason to debate on affirmative action, added the so-called affirmative action bake sale that the UW College Republicans are hosting today has no place in such a debate. She also said the event humiliates and dehumanizes others. It's really interesting. Look, this Yale professor said settlers are not civilians, basically saying that the killing of civilians in Israel was justified, and has now walked the statements back a little bit, but she doesn't mean it.
Yeah.
I'm glad these people were able to speak up, and now we can say, maybe you shouldn't work here. You're evil.
And they would say the same thing about being an American here. In many cases, they would have no problem making that connection, and they would have no problem with the students taking those viewpoints, even if it's to their own detriment, living here.
That's one of the benefits. I mean, that word is crazy to use in this context, but I'm sure people know what I mean. One of the only positive things is sort of seeing who's who and getting a lot of clarity about your own positions. We were talking about that earlier.
Absolutely.
It's like my anti-war position I've never felt more confident with it. But I also am more confident in who's who and who, is beating those war drums.
Yeah.
It has
right?
been absolutely insane to me to watch what's been happening and realize that my positions have not changed through Ukraine, through everything in 2020, that my beliefs, especially anti-war beliefs, do not need to be swayed by either side, that it's a bad idea no matter where it's coming
Well,
from.
you saw Lindsey Graham, right?
Yeah.
His latest thing was where he said that he wants to bomb Iran even with no evidence.
Yep.
That was crazy.
And
That was insane. That guy should resign. That dude is evil.
And you look at the responses of the people talking about this stuff, and there are people justifying it. And it's just like when we started seeing all this stuff, it really did become clear to me how the Patriot Act got passed so quickly with so much little pushback. And that's before the internet age. That's before the free exchange of information that we have now, where there at least is now reasonable pushback from all parties, where the ones who are not seeing red right now can have a reasonable discussion. Back then, that wasn't really an option.
No.
You had a couple of mainstream networks pushing the war machine on you, and it worked. It worked
It
on.
lasted for like a year and a half too.
And that's
everyone.
Sorry.
I didn't know anybody that wasn't bloodlust from 2001 to
Oh, yeah.
2002.
Well, but there's a weird, sometimes I catch myself almost like longing for sort of that era in the sense of not the war part, but the unification we all felt. But then you remember it was unification under so many false pretenses.
based on a lie.
Right. And I don't even know how much of that is safe to even talk about here, how many false pretenses, so we won't go into it. But,
Lots
it
of
is
them.
what it is. And every war really starts with manipulation to some extent, which is why also free exchange information era, but also manipulation era, because we have AI, which we're still in the infancy stages of, and we're still having people not able to decipher what's fake and what's real now.
And just too much information. Like you were saying earlier, they say what they say, they lie. You don't most people, you do this for work every day. We do this for work every day. You have the time to look into all of these cases, fact check, double check everything you're seeing. The average person who's just going to the internet to get information on what's going on isn't doing that.
Yep.
The worst is that they're taking advantage of the people who are operating in good faith, who are just looking to get information on what they're supposed to understand.
People don't understand what the world really is without our system of laws and rules and order. It's you're in the middle of the woods and you've got your family and you built a house and you're like, man, I've built up this nice little place to live and grow food. And then 3 guys who don't feel like doing any of that show up, mercilessly beat you and your family and take all your stuff and leave you for dead. And it's funny because this is my argument against vegans. Vegans, listen up. You see, here's my issue. The little spinach plant hurts nobody.
yeah.
Grows its own food, sources everything from the environment around it, peacefully minding its own business. And then along comes this groundhog. Groundhog comes over and just mercilessly destroys that plant, consuming everything about it. And I'm supposed to sympathize with the animal? The animal is the barbarian who came in and killed the peaceful farmer.
Right.
So it's like, if there's a guy farming, minding his own business, and then a bandit came and killed the farmer and took all his stuff, who would you side with?
Depends. If the farmer's father had stolen the land from the bandit's father, now we're talking. Now we have a great debate looming.
But this is actually an interesting point. If you have an innocent farmer who grew his own, he has land, there's nobody there, it was just wild, and it's like, let's say it's 3,000 years ago and he's minding his own business, then marauders come, kill him, take all his stuff and leave. We obviously side with the farmer and say that it's awful they did this. But you take a look at how the left operates, and it really does follow this line. So it's like, it's interesting that they're like an overlap between leftists and vegans. I'm not really ragging on vegans. I know a lot of conservative vegans.
I know what you're saying, though.
But like, my point is, the left tends to side with the thieves, with the people who lie, cheat, and steal and strip value. They're predators. And also they're also predators in the more literal sense of what predators are. Like, Joe Biden is a predator.
But a lot of it is like, in our media, we've baked the idea of the ends justifying the means for a very long time. And so for a lot of them, they feel as if their actions, however abhorrent, are justified because a lot of times it really does come down to, is it class struggle? Is it race struggle? In this case, they're saying that what's going on, they're attacking their oppressors, therefore it is okay. And that has permeated all levels of our culture, whether it's people pushing back on police because they believe that they're being held down by the police, that carries all the way up through to global conflict.
You know, some oppressors are better than other oppressors. And if you've got to pick which one you want to be oppressed by, whether it's a banking system or a militant system, you got to pick. Like, you maybe you'll end up on top of the game at some point, but I don't think so. I think there's probably about 10 humans that are doing that right now.
That's the reality. That's my point. If nobody wants to live in a true state of conflict or war, right? The people that gloat about it and laugh, you put those people in the middle of the woods for a couple of weeks and they'll be crying and begging. And I know this because I remember during Occupy Wall Street, story I often tell, the land was gifted to the occupiers. And I ask people, how long do you think the occupiers lasted on that farmland? How long do you think?
I don't know.
Bunch of leftists protesting in New York. Farmland is gifted, saying you can use this farmland to live off the grid and be sustainable.
Maybe 12 hours. Oh,
that's a little, they did a little better than that. 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, couple weeks. And then I remember talking to a friend who said, I would wake up and work and then work till I went to sleep. And I'm like, you're surprised by this?
Yeah.
That's what life is like outside of the luxury of the United States and the petrodollar and all this stuff. Work.
And they also don't really obviously have a concept of, so you can wrap your head around, maybe the more advanced leftist brain can wrap its head around the idea that, bad things happening to other places, but the idea that, yeah, that happens and there's no justice for it in most scenarios too. So the idea that you can then seek justice for it is completely removed as well.
Who are you going to complain to?
Right.
That's why it's funny when they're like universal healthcare and healthcare is a human right. And I'm like, so who are you going to force to give you the healthcare? And then if that person is human and you've stripped them of their rights, is it really a human right?
Right.
That's like way more thinking into it than most of them give to
course.
it. Anything that involves the labor of another human being is not a human right.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course. And what you said earlier about how their idea of who the oppressor is and who isn't is completely warped. You see it with their, landlord discourse.
Oh, that's
it's like, so as someone who worked their entire life to maybe buy even a rinky-dink house and then manages to rent it out to someone is somehow like worthy of being bashed for that, or not in a position of being harmed if that renter destroys the house or doesn't pay rent. It's like, what that's stealing.
These people don't understand. Like, I had a house. We moved. I rented it out, and then I sold it as soon as I could. Because I'll tell you what happens. You're like the assumption of the left, because look, they're not bright people. That's just the reality of it.
Period.
They don't understand what it means to be a landlord, because they assume all landlords are slumlords. Okay, be a slumlord, fine, whatever. But you have to maintain and work for the people who live there. They are paying you. You are providing a service. That's it. Imagine owning a restaurant and being like, as the owner of the restaurant, I can sit back and do nothing. Someone comes in and says, I'm giving you money for food. And you say, get it yourself. They're going to be like, okay, I'm leaving. Give me my money back. You have a house, and then AC stops working. Yeah. You're getting a phone call. You got to pay for it. Mm-hmm. And so basically all the money you're making in rent off a single property or a couple properties is just going to the bank to pay to maintain the house. Now, that being said, if you finance a house and you have people renting it out, you are building wealth for yourself. So you're working, right? But people still choose to rent or not. And one of the biggest issues is I reject so much of the millennial, I can't afford to buy a house and things like this, because I do know it is difficult. It is difficult, but I've met way too many New York hipsters who don't want to give up their luxuries. They refuse to have to save. I'm not kidding, man. Like 90% of the people I worked with when I lived in Brooklyn, it's like, well, do you want to buy a house? I do. Well, here's how much you're going to need down. You can get a condo in New York. You can get a small house outside of New York, and then commute in. Well, I don't want to commute in. Well, okay, like property in New York is ridiculously expensive. That I get, but that's premium real estate. So how about instead of spending $300 every weekend, you keep the $300, and then after a year, you can have a down payment. Now they don't want to do it.
And you know what? There's something so sad about that, because this is kind of something I identified very early on, because I've kind of always, even when I was a teenager, and you tend to be more socially liberal and just liberal in general when you're a teenager. By the time I was 18 or 19 was when I kind of shifted that. And I realized that's because I'm not a pessimist. There's something very pessimistic about the leftist mindset as well, because it's not just that they're demonizing the landlord and see him as an oppressor. It's because inherently they believe they could never achieve that. Yeah. And even though, granted, it's difficult to buy a house, like you said, it's partly because they believe they can never achieve that. Mm-hmm. Whereas I always believed I could achieve anything I wanted. And so that's kind of how I realized very early on, that's not the ideology for me.
Social media has also like really ramped that up, like doomer content that's designed to destroy your morale and hope for any type of brighter future. Like half the memes you'll end up seeing, it's so funny that you mentioned that, because do you remember Matan Evan, the guy who mentioned, okay, so he had a thing he went to like protests and was like, we love landlords. Yeah. And it was like, I think that might've been the greatest thing that happened in all of 2023, because the landlord discussion is one of the most ridiculous ones that's going on right now. And they've just been inundated with all of these things. It's people who are actually, the funny thing about it, they're actually talented. They're just talented at creating content that's destroying the morale of other people. True. There's this guy who does these videos where he lists existential crises and really bad things, but he says it with a smile on his face with really positive words. And that's the type of stuff that seeps into their brains. Like, I'm never going to own a home. I'm going to work until I'm 80. Like all the while there's like cheery music playing in the background. Yeah. And they're on social media all day. So they're being inundated with this content endlessly. Who wouldn't be demoralized?
And it becomes warped, because you see it spread out in so many different ways, like the fat positivity movement, which is inherently a leftist movement. It's like they really will convince you that being fat, sick, and dying literally is a virtue, is positive. Like living the opposite of a positive life is positive.
Modern society, I think, has destroyed the human psyche in a lot of ways. We should be working nonstop. But the problem is, for whatever reason, I never understood this. There are people who are like, I don't want to work. I want to do nothing. It's like, hold on. If your argument is you want to work on something specific and not the thing you're working on, that I get. Yeah. You're like, hey, I'm a restaurant manager, but I really want to be a software engineer. So I'm taking night classes to learn how to code, and then I'm going to go and work for a firm. That I get. That's like, I'm not working where I want to be. But a lot of these people want to do nothing.
Yeah,
They're just like, I shouldn't have to work. I should be able to just lay there and consume resources from other people.
And a lot of those people who do, they actually to what you said, your mindset, you would see it as a net positive to be able to have something to work on after your day job because you're passionate about it. They find it almost as an affront to them that they would have to have a day job to then work on the thing that they want to advance in.
Yeah.
And that's the college lie that we've sold them.
We've got this tweet from Jonathan Greenblatt. Oh, he runs the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, CEO of ADL CEO. He tweeted, the post shared in recent days by Black Lives Matter chapters in Chicago and LA and other fringe groups, glorifying the Hamas terrorists who used hang gliders to infiltrate Israel, slaughtering over 1,000 innocents, is beyond sick and twisted. It's anti-Semitic, dehumanizing, and could prompt violence. So just want to point out, they're not hang gliders, they're paragliders. They're different. Hang gliders are the fixed wing glider, and paragliders are parachutes.
Have motors.
But, right, they have motors.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, will the Anti-Defamation League now put Black Lives Matter on their list of anti-Semitic hate groups?
They better. And every time I see that, for which I've seen it a few times over the past few days, obviously, it still feels like it's not real because the audacity, how bold it is.
Dude, these people are out marching in the streets. There is only one solution. Okay,
It's
like
crazy.
Bro. 10 years ago, Occupy Wall Street people were posting on my Facebook, just never forget you're first against the wall. These are people threatening me with death.
Yeah.
Like this is not surprising that they came out. What is kind of surprising to me, I guess, is that finally this is what broke the machine.
Yeah.
And now you've got a whole bunch of Democrats being like, whoa. There's like some former Washington Post lady being like, I had never understood that the left was very anti-Semitic, and now I'm starting to see it. Jake Tapper being like, it's a wake-up call for people to realize anti-Semitism on the left. It's like, I don't know. When the BLM people proudly stated on video that they wanted to end Israel, was that not surprising to you?
That part. I mean, if you paid any attention, I don't remember her name, but it was the female Black Lives Matter leader.
Patrisse Cullors.
She's been getting in, she's been getting in like semi-cancellations like once a year over the crazy anti-Semitic stuff she says. So that's not surprising. But I think what it takes me back every time I look at this is how there's no room for nuance. Even if they're trying to, with that, I stand with Palestine, as if we don't see that they're standing with Hamas specifically, and it's about the murders. You know,
let me. Here's a video for
all
you.
of it. Yeah.
I'm not sure who this is. I just quickly searched for it. Lionhearted on Twitter says BLM co-founder Patrisse Cullors said exactly where BLM stood on the Palestine-Israel conflict in 2015. Quote, Palestine is our generation's South Africa. If we don't step up boldly and courageously to end the imperialist project called Israel, we are doomed. I mean, like, what does that mean to end Israel?
I mean, do one thing.
I think she spelled it out, right?
Yeah, it means one thing.
Right? What did they say? One solution? What was that?
Yeah, one solution.
I would say they're being pretty specific, and you have to believe them.
Yeah.
This is part of the problem with the oppressor-oppressed
Here we go. We'll make sure we get Fox News in there. Here's our source from officially reporting on it. Patrisse Cullors. Here's the video. We have I got it right here.
Is our generation South Africa. And the other thing I'll say is Palestine is our generation South Africa. And if
the audacity.
Shut up, dude.
if we don't step up boldly and courageously to end the imperialist project that's called Israel, we're doomed.
Dude.
And I think
look,
that
here's the thing. With South Africa, we were like, everyone must live together in harmony. It's like not gone so well. I mean, Serge knows better than anybody.
That's your home country.
Yeah.
But I will just say, I think a great solution would be, how do we get everyone to live peacefully together? Israelis, Palestinians, whatever. How do we stop the fighting? I don't know if it's possible, but that's what we'll strive for. For her to go on to say, end Israel.
Yeah.
The purpose of their project is of like their goals are fairly obvious. Yeah. So I don't understand how this is 2015, where a BLM co-founder is saying to end Israel, And the ADL is just now like, oh, heavens me, I can't believe the people that we've supported for a decade are now saying this thing.
It's because of that platitude name, Black Lives Matter. It makes it so impenetrable that they have to be this specific for anyone to, wipe the crust out of their eyes and be like, oh, they're the bad guys.
For the average person who's not paying very, very close attention to the socio-political situation, I've had a couple of people who were very big on the idea of compelled speech during 2020, that you had to make a statement on all this stuff, who unfollowed me, refollow after this situation that's going on now. Because I think for certain people, I can't speak whether it's because of that.
The realizing.
I would imagine that this is a more clear-cut example that the world you were sold before isn't as simple as you think it is.
I'll tell you what it is. It's that most of these people were standing around staring at people with pitchforks and thought to themselves, if I call this out, they'll pitchfork and torch me.
Yeah,
so I'll just agree with them and go along with it. Yep.
That's a big chunk of it.
That's a big chunk. And so now that all of a sudden these people are supporting terrorism and the killing of innocent civilians, they're like, oh no, guess what? You're on the wrong side of history. And now they're panicking. Now they're saying, what do I do? Well, I don't know. It's kind of scary, right? You were on the wrong side of history, as y'all tried describing it for the whole time. And now all those protests you took part in, oh man, it's gonna be a fun Thanksgiving.
And
when I'm
worse.
talking to family members, being like, remember when you held up that communist red salute and we're chanting for these people? Yeah. Say right now to the family at the table how you agree with the slaughter of civilians.
Yeah.
And even worse, all those billions of dollars that went straight to those mansions for those disgusting founders and people in the organization. I mean, how disgusting. That's the legacy of what you fought for if you were out on those streets. Even if you had every good intention and you really were affected in
That's
a
the problem.
profound way by the George Floyd stuff or any other injustice against a black person. I mean, that's obviously like a different story than injustice, but you were deceived. But the part, do you forgive them?
I don't think it's so much that they're deceived. Most of these people knew what they were saying was wrong, but they wanted to stand alongside power. They were either cowards or evil.
Yeah.
There's the banality of evil along with that.
For some of it, I think a lot of it is just that they're the average person who decided to post a black square or go to these protests. I think it's because they're not looking that closely into it, and they had a very visceral, emotional reaction to what happened.
I'm not talking about someone who passively posted it. I'm talking about the people who message you being like, dude, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing this?
Yeah. The enforcers.
Exactly. These people willfully stood behind evil because evil had power.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we live in a time where so many people do feel powerless, that the idea that you can DM or tell anyone that you know in your life that you are morally superior to them, whether you say that directly, specifically, or just in your actions, you're just an unfollow. It's like people leap at that, And I realized that very clearly when I started my channel talking about politics. It's like I lost every friend I had. I had to get a new friend group, but obviously it was worth it. But people,
they weren't your friends. I have friends who are still relatively lefty, and they're just like, we're friends. We've been
so do
friends
we
for a long
forgive
time.
them when they come around? Because I'm noticing on a lot of issues lately, a lot of people coming around. The trans kid thing is a big deal because I've been ringing those alarms for years, and all of a sudden I have a big uptick in people DMing me like, you know what? Now I'm kind of seeing that was a really bad thing.
Yes.
I forgive them,
You do.
but I don't trust their judgment anymore.
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay.
You forgive them, but you recognize that they're likely going to turn on a dime the moment power an opportunity arises. But the point is, the left was willing to capitalize on cowards who would empower them. And if those cowards are fleeing, then say, okay, fine. If you want to do work, if you got two groups and they're both building castles, and one group flees to you and says, we'll help you build your castle, you say, sure, start laying bricks. But we're going to keep an eye on you because we don't trust you and we think you're evil. Like, you forgive them because you have to give an opportunity to do the right thing. Otherwise, they'll just never come around.
But you keep that eye on.
But you don't trust them because these people are fickle and swayed by power.
Easily.
Yep.
Easily. The COVID thing was a big one because now, obviously, they really tried in mid-September to kind of see if they could get a foot in again, the establishment. Can we do the masks again? Can we do they were turned down even by college students, which was actually pretty cool. But I posted about that, and it was overwhelmingly this consensus from everyone that, yeah, we should stand against lockdowns again and masks again. And it's so crazy to think there was a time not that long ago where that position was like essentially, I mean, you said that, it's like you were saying the N-word, that you didn't want to put a mask on. You know, it's treated like that. You couldn't have that position. So people do come around, but it doesn't take away that they were complicit when it happened. You know, all the kids right now that are behind in school and development by years and years, that can't read in second grade. It's like you still caused that. So it's hard for me to forgive, but you do. You're right.
And the worst of the worst are the ones who just take whatever the most popular position is. Anyways, did you see Ryan Long's new skit?
Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah.
It
amazing.
might be his greatest work since the woke versus
His
racist.
magnum opus.
Yeah.
Yes, like it might be the great. Like when I saw that, I'm like, oh, he's going to be perfect at this, and that's exactly what we're looking at, right? People have been fed; they've been spoon-fed unbelievably simple narratives for the last 6-7 years. I mean, longer than that, but really in the last 6-7 years, spoon-fed simple narratives. Now they're like, well, here's one that's just not quite so cut and dry.
Ryan Long on YouTube, Ryan Long comedy. Actor doesn't, what is it? It's like actor doesn't know whether to support Palestine or Israel.
It's genius.
You got to watch it. It's masterfully done.
I never miss a stance.
That's the best-
and then he
that's the
goes.
best quote.
It's a sketch, but then he actually goes and asks people. It's like, who are you supporting, Palestine or Israel? I'm like, no, I'll leave me out
It's
of
just
it.
some guy like eating lunch. The guy's like, yeah, it's complicated.
I found this like so interesting that a potential communist revolution in the United States was disrupted by Islamism or whatever you want to call it, by like some external, because people are like Nazism, no communism, Nazism, communism, Nazi, like and then all of a sudden you realize, whoa, aliens are real. Like there's outside forces
Wait,
to our
what?
system. Well, alien being outside the system. I mean, it was a kind of tongue-in-cheek joke, but there's some external force that comes in that maybe even is a bigger threat than what you thought your internal conundrum was all over. And then you get this communist. I don't know. I don't want to call Black Lives Matter communist straight up, but you get this.
They say they are.
not
They have
that far
they have
They
a
say
lot
they
of
are.
there's communist tendencies within it. I see
Well, they
you
say
see them
Marxist,
supporting
but-
Marxist. It's
Let-
the
let
oppressor
me-
versus oppressed. If you're constantly supporting the oppressed, you're always going to look for oppression. You're always going to create oppression.
Let me pull up this tweet, and then we'll carry on the conversation because this is a good example of the left and what they do. Andy No tweets, multiple cars in Ladera Heights, Los Angeles, vandalized with swastikas, setting off fears a white supremacist was targeting the black majority neighborhood. Antifa helped bring attention to the incidents. Last week, Robert Haymore was arrested. He's a 37-year-old black male.
Nice.
What, the guy who committed white supremacy was a black male?
Yes.
People
And so
should
there are a lot of
swastikas
stories like
there.
this. There used to be a thing called like the, what was it, the hate crime hoax map.
Yeah.
Like
I
there
remember
there
that.
were so many that were proven and debunked that this is what you get. I feel like the modern state of American politics is regular people and like people like us are just desperately trying to figure things out and keep things together. And then you have conservatives who are in alignment to a great degree with that, but want more traditional values and are willing to have those debates. And the far left who is completely lying about everything and calling for like murder and terror and you name it.
And that's so, like, one of the most sick things about when you finally kind of realize that a lot of the hate crimes are faked and that there is this like demand and a supply that isn't meeting the demand is then you start to question a lot of things. Because it's like, okay, so you have this entire ideology structured around who's the oppressor, who's not. And as we've established, we know that they're warped in their sense of that. But it's like, that's the telltale sign right there. And they never truly address how many are faked either. I mean, I feel like once a week there's like, you know, gay man has, you know, the anti-gay F slur written on his car. And then it's like his cousin comes out and says, he put that on there.
Yeah,
and then
did
no one
himself.
addresses it ever again.
Or
It's
what was like the
disappears.
Bubba Wallace one where it was like the
That news-
garage,
garage- that
the,
news-
the garage
quote,
poll,
unquote.
and they're like it's a news, and the FBI went out there to investigate
dozen agents.
your
Yeah.
tax dollars at work, ladies and gentlemen.
Sort of. It's your fractional reserve banking system
Yeah.
stripping your resources away from you so they can go investigate a garage pull rope.
Jussie Smollett is like really the only example I can think of on the top of my head where, like, you know, everyone kind of had to call out the BS eventually, but
No, you
people
didn't,
hung
though.
on as long as they could.
No, but a lot of people never apologized for that.
Oh, no, yeah.
Remember when Ellen Page went on, what was it, Colbert or whatever, and was like screaming like, "Ah!" And it's just like, bro, the whole thing was fake, and it was plainly obvious to most people.
And then she had her own little rainbow Jussie Smollett moment. She said that she was in West Hollywood, the gayest.
Well, now
place
now
on
we're
earth.
talking about Elliot Page.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Different
I'm the
page.
one that I'm the one to call.
Turn the page.
But she had her own little wannabe moment because these actors need to stop writing their own stuff. Oh my God. How am I the worst one at this? How am I the worst one? Zem said, no, but okay.
Page.
Elliot,
L.
wow.
We'll just call
that person.
them L.
It shouldn't be
Yeah,
this difficult.
L.
That person said that they were accosted in West Hollywood by someone who screamed, "I'm going to gay bash you." So they can't even make it believable. Jussie Smollett is like Chicago attacked by Trumpers, and Elliot Page is saying someone was homophobic in West Hollywood. And if you've ever been there, every
Is that
street's
like
a
a
rainbow
gas
street.
station?
And
Yeah.
and like someone saying something so specific.
Pretty sure when you're gonna get gay bashed, they don't tell you they're gonna do it; they just do it.
Yeah.
It would have
But-
been like,
But
the
like in
dudes
West
who-
Hollywood of all
yeah.
places.
Of all places.
That's the
no
that's,
way.
You
get
could have at
straight
least
bashed
said
there.
Compton. You could have
Yeah,
at least said you
right.
went down a
Or,
wrong
I mean,
street.
downtown
Yeah.
LA. And they'd be like, oh,
Right.
Yeah.
It would have
Yeah.
been like if the people who did that to like that supposedly did it to Smollett said like, I'm gonna do a racism on you.
Exactly.
I'm gonna do a racism
This
on
is
you.
MAGA
but
country.
but they said this is MAGA country.
Right.
Like, come on.
WeHo isn't
Chicago.
exactly straight country, Elliot, but you know.
Taking advantage of the fact that people don't know just how cold that 16 degrees below zero is in the Midwest
Yeah.
that time of year.
I've thought
And,
that like
but also the area where Smollett was is like a mostly non-residential area. It's like but next to a bunch of corporate offices. And so like because of that, me and my friends would skate down there because no one's there to yell at you. So when I heard that story right away, I was like,
knew.
what? He was by the NBC building? Like
Right.
clock-
That's how I felt when I saw
clock?
the Elliot Page stuff. I'm like, the Rainbow Street. Someone said they're gonna get okay. I mean, but it's also sad though because people really are, even though it's rare, victims of that kind of stuff, and it's so
But
horrible to
this-
lie about.
considering the big news that's happening now with like Israel Palestine, forgive me, friends, but it is very difficult to believe them when they're like Israel is indiscriminately doing all of these things. I'm like, you know, man, look, I don't know because it's a long, it's an 75-year conflict and longer than that, technically going back thousands of years. But all I can say is the left lies about everything. So sorry.
There's
Have a nice
something
day.
bizarrely impressive though about their dedication to a narrative that, like we said, that supply doesn't meet that demand. They'll make it meet it. They will make it. They will artificially inflate things. They'll make it so. There's something bizarrely, sickly impressive about it.
But it's also financially beneficial for the media who become useful idiots for those types of, at the lowest end of the spectrum, they're the people that are just they're just doing what they're told. And it's what the media wants from it. And then the worst are the activist reporters who are happy to kind of obfuscate the truth in the for the sake of spinning a narrative a certain way. And there's money to be made from it in that direction, not just social change.
Yeah, it's very clickable, obviously. Elliot Page accosted, really? It's clickable.
By the way, speaking of which, if I remember correctly, so just don't go. I believe there was a book coming out at that time.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, it was the book tour.
There's always we call it like the bad decision to memoir pipeline on our show because it's a lot of celebrities, right? They do bad things in their 20s, which they're celebrated for. Their 30s come around, the roles start to dry up. Well, what is it now? It's book time, so they have to write a book.
Right.
I wrote a book. It's coming out tomorrow, actually, and
Really?
and I have to tell you this very horrifying story.
Exactly.
Ian told me that he was selling me an unlimited Soul Ring, but it was a revised Soul Ring.
Yeah.
and
I was never the same after that.
Yeah, never the same.
I kept the unlimited one for myself.
Nerds around the world are outraged. You must buy the book if you want to see the full. There's no book. I'm kidding.
You should write a book. It's good timing.
The way I believed that you had a book coming out.
You could probably write like a 9-page
High
book and sell like
autism.
100 million copies. or
I was
something.
wrong.
10 million copies.
You must buy my book to understand just how wronged I was.
It really is the thing though now. Like because we read these stories and I'm just like, I get through the first paragraph and I'm like, last paragraph, when does the book come out? Oh, it comes out in a month. That's perfect. They have to just in time to go on their media tour.
Right. Because if you really wanted to raise the alarm about homophobes running through the street, right, you would have done it a lot sooner than the week your book's coming out. Because he said that was like a couple years prior. I'm like, so maybe warn the other LGBT people they're going to get bashed on that street before that, right?
What if Jussie Smollett was like, look, I don't even have a book coming out. Why would I lie?
Right.
And he's in trial, and it's like the defense says he doesn't have a book coming out, and they're like, "Oh, well, this man's innocent."
Right. It'll really happen then. Damn.
This
That proves it.
the racism, or I guess the black and white, gay, straight stuff over the last 6 years feels like cake, like icing on the cake. We don't need it. Like now that this is going off in Israel, and even Putin's like, "Yo, this is insane. Protect the women and the children, you guys," kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And maybe he's not, but I don't think he's going in and executing women and kidnapping children. I don't think that's the Russian
always
plan.
propaganda.
They want land. So it's like, I think it's almost as if, I mean, and then John Kirby was it John Kirby, the speaker? What is his White House spokesperson? John Kirby announced the funding for Ukraine's, quote, coming near to the end of the rope. We're done. We're done funding it. Ukraine, it's over.
Well, they got a
Russia's-
phone call, and they said, guys, we got to fund Israel. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening. They're like, we need to redivert funds
Look,
into what
look.
really matters.
A lot of people think the principal motivator for Ukraine is not actually geopolitics, energy, gas. It is the military-industrial complex needs to spend money.
Yes.
Needs to be given contracts. And so after Afghanistan, they're like, what do we do? Quick, we need another war. They lobby for it.
Yep.
Now that Israel's heating up, they're like, ooh, okay, we don't need Ukraine anymore, guys. Zelensky, you're on
There
your
was
own.
that tweet that said Zelensky just became America's side chick.
Right.
That's pretty accurate.
Oh, Ukraine. Yep. Don't be surprised if the U.S. is backing away now.
New current thing.
I don't necessarily
Exactly.
think it'll be like a religious war. I mean, who cares
Lindsey Graham
what you
says it
call
will.
it? But if there's a world war, like where Egypt and Israel and the United States and Germany and India all go to war with China and Iran and all these, Russia is the center linchpin of all of this. Wherever Russia goes, wins. So we need them on our side. They're in the center of it all.
And that was what was so demented about the Trump presidency, how like demonized he was for attempting to have a somewhat cordial relationship with Putin. And it's like, you can see a drop of their argument with like, okay, there's certain things to criticize, but you definitely don't want them against you, right?
No, definitely not. And they've had a lot of issues with this as well, within Chechnya and within the fact they were in Afghanistan as well back in the 80s. So I don't know. I'm surprised he even came out and said anything.
I could see a war breaking out, and then it goes really bad for the Americans and the Israelis. Half of Israel, God forbid, is whatever, the worst case scenario, and Putin watches, and they stay neutral, and they watch. And then it gets to a point where the Arabs do some horrific things to humanity, and Putin can no longer sit by, and he joins the Americans, and then ends the war.
That's what I said last night. The thing I'm most afraid of is that the Shia and Sunni are able to get past their collective aggression towards each other and say, like, we have to deal with Israel. That's the thing that I'm most concerned about.
What is the root of their aggression towards each other? Do you know?
Shia and Sunni disagree who is a spiritual successor on earth of Muhammad, who is the prophet.
And that's because his daughter, Fatima, was that her name?
No, he had many. I don't know exactly.
It was like
basically that
it was like his brother had a group. I think it was his brother and his daughter.
they have disagreed with the lineage of who is the spiritual successor.
I think it was his brother, or it was one of his generals, or it was like one of his main disciples,
like
or
that.
something. It like
Something
descends
like that.
from that man, and then the other disciples come from the daughter. And it could be. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak out of turn.
No, I understand. It's very complicated.
So it's similar to like how how the Muslims and the Jews came out of Abraham's children.
Yeah.
Isaac and
Similar.
Ishmael both had their tribes, and same within Islam, there was two tribes that came from Muhammad.
Let's jump to this story from the New York Post. Doxing truck drives around Harvard showing names, photos of students who blamed Israel for Hamas attacks. That's the story. Giant video screens hung on the sides of trucks posting the names of these individuals. So the story is a bunch of student groups signed a letter that explicitly said the only one to blame for this is Israel. And it's led to a major backlash. A truck is now posting their names. And you've got more CEOs signing on saying they will never hire any one of these students who signed one of these letters.
Whoops.
And I'm sitting back, putting my feet up, bag. Don't look at me for help.
Yeah.
Hello, because that's the same thing y'all did for every other issue, every other time. So, hi, that's karma.
It's like, y'all, we begged you not to do this. We said cancel culture is wrong. People should have their free speech. So there are certain limits. I don't think everything's absolute, right? Some people don't want to associate. I get it. But the line the left drew was so ridiculous. Like comedy, banned. You know, you made a comment 10 years ago, banned. We misinterpreted what you said. You're fired. No, okay.
Yep.
You made the rules, buddies. Yeah. You wanted to sign on to this. They thought they were on the right side of history, but they weren't, and now they will never get jobs again. Talk about wasting your college years. Oof, must be brutal for them.
And especially considering, like you said, I think it was you brought up the point. It's like most of them, actually, I think it was Tim, sorry, that they're just jumping on because their peers are. So you're not even thinking about it, and you mess yourself up.
There's a
and you're not
tweet.
thinking about it.
I can't remember the guy who said it. I could probably pull it up, but he said, you know, I'm not gonna cut anybody some slack over signing this, but you know, gotta understand, a lot of students didn't even know what the letter was when they signed onto it, and I'm like, wow, that's even worse.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, then you kind of deserve it even more.
Then it has
actually.
nothing to do with what they signed. It's the fact that they signed it at all that they would that
Yeah.
they would be kept out of it. I do have an issue with the idea of compelled speech, though. Like there was a Breitbart article today or yesterday. It was like the top 10 Instagram celebrities with the most followers who haven't said anything about Israel. I was like, I
don't love that.
I was like, I thought 10 years ago or 5 years ago we said these people are idiots who don't know anything about foreign policy, and we didn't care what their opinions were. I don't like that either. I don't like the idea of either side telling me or anyone that I have to have an opinion on something.
So this is a professor at Harvard who tweeted, "I yield to no one in my revulsion at the statement apparently made on behalf of 30 plus Harvard student groups. But please, everybody take a deep breath. Many in these groups never saw the statement before it went out. In some case, those approving did not understand exactly what they were approving. Probably some were naive and foolish. This is not a time where it is constructive to vilify individuals, and I am sorry it's happening." Oh, a Harvard professor. He probably agrees with them. But let me just say, my friend, there were a lot of Nazis. We'll just go straight Godwin's law on these people because it's related to Israel. There were a lot of low-level Nazi soldiers who did not know what was going on, but they loaded those people up onto trains and trucks, all the same, and were held accountable for it. Just doing your job is not an excuse. These people at Harvard signed onto a statement empowering it, and it was shockingly offensive to a lot of people. Now, I don't know that my personal values, like I would fire someone who said something shocking and offensive to an extreme degree. I'd probably just talk to him about it and be like, I don't know, man, like consider the implications of what you're saying and whether it's strategically, valuable. And then I do have my lines, though. I think everybody does. If I put it this way, if you were hanging out with your buddies at a bar and one guy got up and started screaming racial slurs at somebody, you'd be like, dude, stop. What are you doing?
Yeah,
like, knock it
for
off.
sure.
That's not cool. And so that's basically what's happening right now. The issue I take with the far left was that their cancel culture was always extreme. There was a race car driver whose dad said the N-word in the 80s, so his sponsors canceled on him. Like, that's nuts. They're like Sarah Silverman did blackface 10 years ago, so they get her fired from a movie. I'm like, well, she made her bed, she's going to lay in it. Yeah. That's crazy. If somebody has an extreme opinion, then I think it's like you criticize them for it, you question them for it. And depends on what the severity of the opinion. The problem was the left was getting people fired and canceled for the most tepid conservative opinions.
Nothing.
Right.
And they still do. I mean, we can't also pretend as if like that's completely over. It's definitely softened, but that still happens all the time. So fire with fire, I guess.
Well, it's not fire with fire. It's them trying to set a fire and burning themselves, and me sitting back and being like, "Get me out of it."
Yeah, live by the sword, die by the. That's that whole thing is like you get what you give. We talk about a lot. Like the cult will come for you if you live by the sword, die by the sword. It's an ancient phrase. That like if you live your life canceling people, well, you're going to surround yourself with other people that love to cancel people, and then watch out one day for you.
Comes around.
But that doesn't mean I won't forgive them and welcome them back. But I do not trust people that snap to crazy judgments of others.
They don't even consider themselves friends. They consider themselves allies.
Comrades.
They don't have friends. Yeah, they're comrades.
But that's that slippery slope that they never seem to understand either. It's like, to them, it's a fallacy. To anyone who pays attention to how life works, humanity works, history works, that's not a fallacy at all.
Live by the sword comes from the Bible.
It does.
Matthew 26:52.
Yep.
Was that something
then
that Jesus
said? Jesus unto him, put up again thy sword into his place. For all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword.
Yes.
What is he saying? Like, so grab your sword and arm yourself? Is that what he's saying? Or does he say put it back?
No, it's a proverb. It's basically saying live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yep. That's where it comes from.
I feel bad. If I was Seamus, I would have known that. And then I would
right. Seamus is probably at home right now being like, Ian, you didn't know that? You said an ancient.
Sorry, Seamus. Come back on the show. I need you.
But I guess also the part of it is they don't really realize it's a sword to begin with, right?
No, they don't.
Like they don't when they're ruining people's lives over the most minor infraction, which they are so accustomed to doing, they don't actually think about that person's life after in any regard. So to them, it's nothing. So the slightest bit of blowback to them, it's like, maybe we'll rethink some things now.
Actually, I think the worst of them do think about it. I think they want you homeless in a box.
Oh, they want it.
They want you to suffer and die alone on the streets with no money. That's why it's so insidious, that it's not enough to just have you scolded. It's not enough to just have you criticized. You have to be given... You have to have everything taken from you before in there, that bloodlust is never quenched.
Right. And they'll say things like, it's about accountability culture. It's like, first of all, who are you to hold me accountable for anything? You're not God. You're not my parents. You're not you're no one. But it's like, That's not accountability when your entire life is dismantled because of a tweet from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's more on the extreme example of what happens, but it's not as if that's super rare that happens.
There's something higher than both God and your parents. They're the offended, and that's apparently above all of those.
Yeah, accounting is like when you're taking an accurate cost analysis. And if you're over accounting, if you're doing it wrong, maybe you're charging too much for the value. Like ruining someone's entire livelihood because they wore blackface 10 years ago, I feel like is overdoing it. It's a misaccount.
For you to determine what the accountability should be is like, even if I'm going to be held accountable, let me figure out how to make amends with myself with what I've done. You don't tell me what to do.
Well, if you have blackface, you can still be the Prime Minister of Canada. So
Yes.
don't worry, it's okay.
Or Joy Behar.
Oh
Hello.
yeah, or governor. I forgot about that. True.
But we never knew if it was blackface or the Klan costume, which one.
He never answered. That's the best part. He's like to this day, he's going to take that to his grave. It'll be in his memoir when he writes a book.
Schrodinger's racism.
Are you talking about Gavin Newsom?
Black
No, Trudeau.
Not Trudeau.
No,
the governor.
Yes.
Who?
Northam?
Governor Ralph Northam?
Yeah.
And that's just to distract you from the whole 9-month abortion thing.
Yeah, which is crazy. It's wild.
I was just like getting like all that. I feel like we're talking about racism, cancel culture. That stuff is like, it feels like vomit. That's like kind of out of me now, but it's like still with me kind of. But then I think about like Israel, Palestine, and then I feel like I'm burning in hell. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, this is crazy. This is 2019. It's nuts. 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Blackface and KKK garb, and we don't know which one he was. So he is in a superposition of both offensive costumes at the same time.
So it's like I actually cloned myself, and I'm both people at the same time.
Well, no, it's just like if he's not going to tell us which one he did, then he's both.
True that.
That's crazy.
It's because like both has like their own like individual problems with it that make it worse. So
Yeah, right.
he's like he doesn't want you attaching whatever's worse about either one of those in particular ones to that exact costume.
You know, the crazy thing is it was in their yearbook or something.
Yeah. It was. Or I think Trudeau's was also. I think it was a yearbook thing.
But that's also kind of the
was a Halloween party.
revisionist history that goes on, and people really pretend as if like Nazi jokes were not acceptable even like 10 years ago.
There's a picture of
Sarah
Taylor
Silverman
Swift
dressed up like Hitler on Conan or something like that.
Everyone kind of did it. That's the reason you can pull up all these mainstream celebrities. It's like there's a reason why they weren't canceled in the moment and then it aired on live television. It's because we kind of did have a sense of humor.
Who did you say dressed up as a Nazi on
Sarah Silverman.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
As Hitler.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Okay.
And it's okay because she's Jewish. That was what the whole point was, at least.
I'm
I
concerned.
mean, comedy is okay. Like,
Yeah,
you
it's a
had
joke.
Count Dankula's famous video where he had the pug doing the salute, and it was like he said the cutest thing in the world doing the most repugnant thing possible. That was the joke of it. He was insulting Nazis. And then there's a story about like some guy actually in Germany trained his dog to do it, and then he got in trouble.
Yep.
Because they were like, "How dare you insult us?" But they tried to lock him up.
Yeah.
For making
that's
a video.
Scary. That's
Well, they
scary.
did, didn't they?
But then
actually
he went to court. I think he had to pay a fine or something. He did get arrested. I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
he got
did.
arrested. And I'm pretty sure he
But
got tried for it and went
He
to
did.
prison. Yeah.
He didn't go to prison. I don't think he went to prison.
Believe I don't know.
Thank you. I thought he'd pay a
remember
fine or something. But then he made another video where he has a white pug and a black pug, and he made the black pug do the black power fist, which is effectively the same thing. That video
I bet he
is
didn't get trouble
so
for that.
good. And then like as it's doing it, there's a knock on the door, and he's like, "Oh no, it's the Labor Party!" And then he has to like hide all of his books. And then he's like, "I gotta hide books." And then he's going through his bookshelf. He's like, and then he grabs the Torah, and he's like, "Oh crap! Oh crap!"
Doesn't know what to do. Yeah.
It looks like he was fined.
Yeah, he was fine.
800 euros.
And I mean, that type of humor, that was very, very... There's actually a picture of like Taylor Swift at like a Halloween costume from like 2009, and the guy she's with has a swastika on his shirt.
Wow.
And like, but the thing is they'll just overlook it. If you sell enough pumpkin spice lattes and albums, like they'll just let it go.
Yeah, dude.
But also, there's something to be said about the fact that it wasn't that offensive back then. People
Exactly.
would see it as funny, even though obviously it's egregious imagery and it reminds you of obviously the atrocities. But there was a time when people didn't necessarily internalize it as that person actually being a Nazi. It was really just a Halloween costume.
Yeah, we'll get back to the place where symbols aren't the same thing as actions. Sometimes they wave in and out of reality. Like you forget what a symbol used to mean, or it means something new, and then it no longer means it. Like
Right,
what's more vile, having a swastika on your shirt or killing someone?
Right. So
killing someone.
or celebrating and defending those who do. Like this is the point. When people need to understand the actual moral qualms that exist with cancel culture. It's not so much that someone said something shocking and offensive, so they got fired. It's that what they said actually wasn't shocking and offensive, and they got fired. So when like Sarah Silverman does a bit about blackface, she's trying to be a shock comedian. We get what she's doing. She's not literally intending to insult black people. But she got fired from a movie over it. Yeah. That's ridiculous. When Harvard students sign a letter blaming Israel for the mass murdering of civilians, then we kind of like, I can understand. Look, you should not hire these people. And I'll tell you why. It's not cancel culture. Anyone who signed that letter showed that they are stupid, did not read it, did not think ahead. Do you want to hire someone to your company who blindly marches with morons?
Yeah.
Or do you want to hire someone who's like, I read that letter and said, no way.
It's one of two options. You're stupid or you're evil. And neither one of those are someone I would want in my life in any capacity.
Why not both?
Definitely not someone I'm giving money to. Or both. Most likely both. But, you know.
But that's it. It's like Sarah Silverman makes a joke and other people have made jokes. Like, okay, keep your job. I don't care. And then they explicitly defend terrorism. And it's like, okay, you know, you're bad people. I don't want to be around you.
Yep.
What do you say? Let's jump to this story from ABC News. That's what I say. Trump criticized for calling Hezbollah very smart as he talked of potential risks to Israel. The former president also called Israel's defense minister a jerk. What I absolutely love about the story is ABC News doesn't actually give you the full picture. Trump did not just say Hezbollah was very smart. Trump said they attack me for saying things like this when I point out that, you know, Hezbollah, they're smart. They know what they're doing. They're going to attack from the north. And then an Israeli defense minister said, I hope they don't attack us from the north because we're weak there. So then Hezbollah does because they're smart, right? They're attacking Trump over this now, trying to make it seem like he's anti-Israel or something like that.
Intelligence doesn't make you good or evil. You can be evil and intelligent. You can be good and intelligent. He said Xi Jinping's intelligent. He was right. The guy's not dumb. He's smart, not necessarily good. I mean, that's not a claim of good or evil.
Right.
So yes, people can be very smart. Right. It does not qualify their morals.
There was some celebrity that got canceled like a couple years ago, or maybe it was like longer than a couple years ago, for saying that Hitler was smart.
He was.
Right. That's not even arguable.
I would consider him evil, but he was definitely had high intelligence.
Absolutely evil, right? I mean, to even reach the position of power. I mean, you got to give Trump intelligence points just for reaching the point of presidency alone, and then, you know,
being a billionaire. But look at this. Michael Tracy nails it. He says, it's hilarious when Republicans try to attack one another for not standing with Israel hard enough. They all have the exact same position, so must desperately latch onto trivial turns of phrase like it means anything. Yeah, I'm sure Trump is a huge fan of Hezbollah.
It's also...
I want to play the clip. DeSantis War Room says, new, Trump praises Hezbollah, calling the Iran-backed terror group very smart hours after they attacked Israel. But actually, listen to this.
And then 2 nights ago, I read all of Biden's security people. Can you imagine? National defense people. And they said, gee, I hope Hezbollah doesn't attack from the north because that's the most vulnerable spot. I said, wait a minute. You know, Hezbollah is very smart. They're all very smart. The press doesn't like when they say it. You know, I said that President Xi of China, 1.4 billion people, he controls it with an iron fist. I said, he's a very smart man. They killed me the next day. I said he was smart. What am I going to say?
He knows.
But Hezbollah, they're very smart. And they have a national defense minister or somebody saying, I hope Hezbollah doesn't attack us from the north. So the following morning they attacked.
Yeah.
They might not have been doing it, but if you listen to this jerk, you would attack from the north because he said that's our weak spot.
This is why Trump went. This is it. This is why the people who listen to Trump end up supporting him. Like Brandon Strzok's story where he was like, I'm going to debunk this narrative. Listened to Trump actually talk and went, and like had this transformation. Trump is roasting the media for insulting him for saying that Hezbollah and Xi Jinping are smart. It's crazy to me. That's plainly true.
Yeah,
no, they're really dumb. What?
Identifying your enemy's strengths is one of the first steps in defeating your enemy.
Yeah.
The simpler explanation here is it's just verifying people and they're not sending their best all over again, right? The media is just taking advantage of the fact that a lot of the people who are watching it are going to read the headline and they're not going to actually listen to the clip through the whole way. And he does fall into that trap. He's been known to fall in that trap. But the people that are going to look at this and take that as an own already are looking to hate him.
Well, I'm wondering, I don't know much about the Hezbollah attack in the north. Did the Israelis set them up? Did they create an area of the north that they said was weak in order to draw Hezbollah in so that they could get them where they want them? And maybe Hezbollah's not as smart as he thinks they are? I know nothing about it. I'm wondering, because why would the Israeli defense minister announce their weakness out loud?
Well, I mean, we saw that even in the war on terror. We saw people openly saying like this is the next troop movement and stuff like that. And people who were obviously watching CNN in Afghanistan were like, "Oh, okay, well now we know where to go. Now we know where to defend, etc." It's just like a huge operational misguiding, or not. What's the word? I'm trying to think of the word here.
Hubris.
Maybe not hubris, but just like it's like, why would you do that? It's just like it's a mistake, to say that, like to literally tell people you're weak. They're probably going to watch your news media and figure it out. Someone's going to be watching, and that's the mistake they made. I don't know. I don't know if they actually goaded them into it though, like you're saying.
I know very little about the Hezbollah moves in the north, but if they've got Hezbollah out of position right now, that might not be a bad thing for them.
I mean, I will say I don't know much about that situation either. However, watching that, first of all, makes me appreciate how funny just the way he talks is. And I always know he's gaining more power and sort of like on his way back up when he starts getting more unhinged in his speech, because he's really funny and that you just can see it. But also in the time we're in right now with everything going on, that peacetime that we took for granted, or maybe not us, but a lot of people took for granted during his presidency, it's looking a lot sweeter to have again, hopefully. It makes me more pro-Trump than, I'm not gonna say ever, but
it's gotten so bad under Joe Biden that people are begging for Trump back. Is kind of funny.
Yeah. First time I ever in my life have considered voting for Donald Trump was today.
Really?
It's because I don't see another war commander that we have running for president right now.
Right.
True.
Joe Rogan said something similar. If it's Biden or Trump, he would vote for Trump over Biden.
I would take Vivek. I just feel like what's his presence? I don't know. Is he actually challenging Donald Trump? But I trust Vivek face to face. I like where his head's at, where his spirit's at. But Don's got the experience of working in the White House for 4 years, and I feel we're in a very desperate situation.
Not just that, Donald Trump negotiated internationally for decades.
Yeah, and
this is what he was doing.
It goes back to my belief that we need the Russians as allies if we're going to hold the line.
And he has that, going back to what I kind of said, that like slight unhinged thing, that's actually a very positive thing. Like we were kind of saying before we went on air, it's like, why wouldn't you want the world to be ever so slightly afraid of messing with our guy? I mean, that's just common sense.
When Trump said, there's that phone call that got released or whatever, where Trump is like, I told Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping that if they invaded, I would nuke them. And he maybe he didn't believe me, but maybe 5% is good enough.
Yeah,
something like that.
It was.
But that's real. Yeah. Like, that's actually kind of how the world works.
If you invade Ukraine, we'll nuke you. It's like, is this guy for real?
It's
right.
Speak softly and carry a big stick is Teddy Roosevelt. True. But the big stick isn't just the nuclear armaments that we have. It's the ability to utilize them. Yep. That's the big stick. Biden doesn't seem to have that. People aren't afraid of that guy.
No. And that 5% margin that you just said, it's like, that's enough. That's enough to not want to do it.
She calls Vladimir and he's like, I just got off the phone with Trump. And Vladimir's like, yeah, me too. And he's like, did he say he was going to nuke you? He did. Do you believe him? I don't know, man. Let's chill out.
Better to not risk it.
Yeah.
He's going to nuke you. That's crazy. That's funny.
Did he get on the phone a lot with Putin?
Well, I don't know to what extent it actually was conveyed. I am quite worried at the idea of a U.S. president threatening to nuke another nation. But the general idea is peace through strength, right? Mm-hmm. There was no conflict. There were no new wars. In fact, wars were winding down and Trump was trying to get our troops out of the Middle East and working on peace agreements.
Mm-hmm. The proof is in the pudding. No matter how people want to portray his efficacy, it's like, we did just have one state of being, which was there wasn't anything like that's going down.
It would also be interesting, just like for people who might be more open to it now, who just either didn't care, didn't pay attention, but to look into like the negotiations between like him and other countries, or the Abraham Accords, to look at what happened, or maybe now they look at him going into North Korea with a new, in a new light because they're seeing just how volatile overseas relations actually are. That might actually play in his favor.
I'm concerned if a global war goes hot, which I mean, it's already heating up, but that remember World War I, the Bolshevik Revolution, immediately after the war, shortly after the war began, the communist revolution in Russia. Yep. So that would happen in the United States, that the pro-Palestine, all these marches and stuff, that there would be an armed uprising in the United States to take control of the country, to lead it to protect Palestine over Israel. And then I could see us having the internal struggle, not even being able to help Israel because we're dealing with our own crap. So I think if we can get ahead of it, prepare for it now and prevent it.
It's the other way around. The far left is being run over the coals for supporting terror.
I'm glad. It's the difference is they didn't have the internet in 2014 or 1914, so they didn't see it coming. But we see it coming. We see this crazy manipulative underdog always first strategy, and it's not working, and the government doesn't like it either. That's the benefit of it. Is the
Always first.
Yeah, it's like underdog. Always make the underdog win.
Oh, right.
Marxism.
You're right.
Yeah.
And then lie about who the underdog really is, right?
Yeah.
Yep, it's them when they're losing and need to win. Mm-hmm. It's their friends when their friends are losing and need to win. If they're winning, they're still the underdogs. They're still losing.
Mm-hmm. And there's
That's what
always
I love.
more work to be done.
There is.
as they say.
Yeah. But I see what you mean by that. But the thing about 1917 is that they literally left the war. They left the World War because they were fighting the war since the beginning, I think. And then they had a civil war from that. But yeah, I can see where you're drawing these like the analogy towards. But I don't know.
Also, with what's going on here, right? It's like a lot of this is college kids that are LARPing as revolutionaries, and it's not really the same thing. I really do believe in a lot of respects that things don't get things don't get worse until food starts rationing and people can't feed their families, and then you have a lot more to worry about.
The French thing is interesting. Did you see the revolts in France? They were protesting
Republic.
Yeah, and they were protesting pro-Palestine, and then the government said that's illegal, and then they started protesting that the government made their protest illegal, and then things are getting hot.
It's literally like an Uno reverse.
That happened within like 2 days.
Dude,
France, food shortages.
Tomorrow is the global Jihad day, and there's all these protests all over the world in support of Hamas. It's crazy.
What advice is just, if you're armed, stay safe, stay armed, stay in your house. Go out.
Look,
don't.
I don't live in a city. We were out in the middle of nowhere, so I'm good.
Like some people are like, just go about your business. Don't let terror stop you.
Everyone here is fine except for Blaire. Blaire's on a plane tomorrow.
Well, right. I love the day y'all booked me, but real question, half kidding, mostly serious. Am I crazy for kind of wanting to drive home?
No, stay another day.
Yeah, hang out.
Yeah,
we'll just move your flight.
I feel like I'll think about it.
I put a flight off tomorrow as well
because I don't want to feel like I'm being histrionic about something, but it's also like, it's the Friday the 13th. It's just crazy.
We'd love to have you. We'll extend your flight, and then tomorrow we play poker.
I'll think about it.
Don't travel on Friday the 13th Jihad day.
Yeah, and the solar eclipse and that red heifer thing. Like what?
Something happens, and they're like, "Look, you had all the warnings in the world."
Like, it's something about the red heifer that particularly is like, I don't know.
Regarding the red heifer, that's like the move for the extremist religious sect of the Israeli government that they want to bring about the third temple and instantiate the second coming. I'm concerned that if they try and force it through military,
for them,
the first coming, right? Yeah. Like the Messiah will finally come for real.
But Christians Christians and Jews believe the same thing about the red heifer, don't they? It's just that for Christians, the second coming, and for Jews, it's the first coming.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm not a religious scholar. I was just reading some articles about it.
Yeah, it's
isn't like if the Messiah comes, isn't that he doesn't just stay and chill and like live with us, right? That's the end of the world, right?
The Messiah leads an army and conquers the world and then brings world peace.
Right.
But is that Christian or is that Jewish?
I don't know. They don't say.
So within Judaism, the Messiah has not come yet. So it'll be the first coming, and I don't think in that a worldview that it's the end of the world. Within Christendom, if the second coming occurs, then yes, it does mean the end of the world.
In Catholicism, particularly, it's different in different sects of Christianity too.
So I guess we'll see who's right. But
what is it in Mormonism? Because this would be the third coming.
Really?
Yeah, it'd be the second or third. Yeah, third coming. I guess you're right.
Yeah, because in I could be wrong, but Mormons believe that Jesus came 1,000 years later to the North America. Or something like that.
I don't know if it was 1,000 years later.
Was that his name?
Yeah, I don't know if it was 1,000 years later or when he was currently on Earth that he traveled across the ocean. I don't know.
My concern is that when realism kicks in, if you try and force this thing through military and execution, that it's gonna backfire. Like the Israelis think that they're gonna do some good by doing this. I have a fear that it's gonna backfire on them. So
that's
I hope
the real side of it.
I don't think it can be forced with military. I don't know. I hate to see, because it was in a book, that we're going to just kill all these people and force in front of the world with internet video. Like, you think you can accommodate war atrocities with internet video? It's not the right time for that.
Because if you really believe it's a prophecy and supposed to happen, it's going to happen whether you push it or not, right? So just chill. Please, everyone chill.
She's like, I got a plane to catch tomorrow. Would you guys
honestly
chill?
I have a life to live.
You have like 20 songs I haven't recorded yet. I'm like, every time I go to play video games now, I'm like, I am wasting valuable time. Which is good. What's that?
And you're running out.
I know, that's what it feels like. Like I just spent the last 2 years playing video games at night, not worrying. Like, I can't wait for tomorrow. What the hell's tomorrow? Like this is now. This is it. This is time. Time is not real. It is always right now. And it's like no time to wait. I mean, there's this. Create what you want to create right now. Now is the time.
Yeah. And there's been several incidents in the past few years that we should have just learned that and kept knowing that, right? But it comes into more clarity during times like this where it's like half joking but half serious on a plane, and I'm kind of scared about it. You know, it's like it comes into clearer view, that reality.
I was in a band called The Panic for a long time, and I didn't really want to be in the band, but it was falling apart. I was getting high beforehand. I wasn't practicing properly. And eventually they're like, all right, Ian, you're out of the band. And I was like, no. And then I like gave it everything, and they're like, it's too late. And I was out of the band.
Was the band called Blind Melon?
It was called The Panic. Yes, it was Blind Melon, actually. Yes, I was the original. The
Bro,
Panic.
watch the music video for Blind Melon with No Rain.
Great song.
It's just like 4 Ians.
But the lesson I learned is...
No, it's for real.
That'd be a good band name.
I'm not kidding.
The lesson I
is a
learned
good
is
band
don't
name,
wait till the
4
last
Ians.
minute to give it everything.
Yeah.
Give it everything right now.
Go hard now.
Yeah, true.
Bro, I swear, like, this video, it's just like Ian modeled his whole life off of these guys.
This has changed my life in
Not the
1991.
little girl in the Bumblebee costume. Where's the guy at?
there.
Look at this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, that's him.
Spring in
Look at him. It's literally just like Ian wanted to be him.
Oh, man, look at those
Look at that.
sunglasses.
It's very Ian coded.
Good song, though.
Yeah, good song.
So
Good track.
good.
We're trying to bring a little levity to your lives before the day of Jihad, you know?
A little hippie justice.
I mean, I gotta be honest, I feel like nothing's gonna happen.
That's the point. It's terror. They want you to be afraid.
Exactly.
Right,
Yep, exactly.
right.
They want people to like lay low, not work.
Disrupt the economy.
Yep, disrupt the economy. But what do you do, man? Because there's crazy people who are like, even if you think that was their intention, some crazy person's gonna do something. It takes one crazy person.
I saw Jack Posobiec tweeted out a video of like a car doing donuts in the middle of the freeway in New York. Did you see that? I don't know if it was if it was related. I don't know if they were screaming Palestine or something, but it blocked traffic in New York. That was today.
I think part of it is like, it feels like lately the world is crazy every day. So for there to be a specific day where it's supposed to get
More crazy.
it's like, okay.
It's also the internet, though. It's just the access to all of the crazy things that happen are now at your fingertips and in your
Yeah.
pocket all the time. Back in the day, you would have had to watch maybe they include a couple stories like that at the end of the news if you watched the news when you were younger. Not everyone did. Now you're not getting it in the form of like some stuffy dude in a suit telling it to you. It's in your pocket and you're scrolling through it and you're algorithmically being programmed to see how crazy the world is every single day, and that's hard on anyone's brain.
And that violence, you know, it's like I was thinking about like the day everything kind of started. I was flying home from Vegas and I saw the imagery of like people just murdered in the streets. There was like I think it was the image of, you know, the elderly people outside the bus stop and I cried in the car, and I was actually shocked that I cried, and then I was shocked that I was shocked about it, because I'm like, how is it shocking that I'm crying when I'm seeing this? Am I that desensitized that it's rare for me to cry when I see a scene like that? And that's society as a whole, you know? It's like we are way too desensitized to seeing just things that you are not meant to see. And in the past, you would have had to go to like psychotherapy to cope with the fact that you saw it.
It's like
even an image.
Hyper-normalization.
Yeah.
I've kind of been keeping off looking at the videos. I'm wondering today, should I expose myself to some of these traumatic deaths in
I do.
You have been watching it?
Oh, I look at all the videos. I watch them all.
Man, I
Look at
saw
all
one
the
of a
pictures.
dog getting shot. Did you see that? That was tough.
I don't care to see that. I mean, oh my God.
I watch it all. My view is it's not for everybody, but do you know what the real world is?
Yeah, 'cause
or do you just live in the safety bubble of the United States?
I feel like I can't communicate properly with the people that have been exposed to it unless I expose myself to it.
Yeah.
And my view has always been since I was I remember there was a viral video of 3 dudes murdering a guy in Europe that was on like Live Leak and everything.
Oh yeah, that one.
And I was like, I'm gonna watch it because this evil exists.
Yep.
And I feel there's a lot of people are like, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch it. And that to me kind of felt like, please let me stay under the covers. The monsters are outside.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, you're better off. Like this is, imagine this. Little kids hide under the covers because they're scared of a monster or something, right? Like that's the worst thing you can do because now you can't see the threat. Mm-hmm. And if there is a monster, it's coming for you.
Yeah, that
Right.
kid has no situational awareness.
Exactly. So my attitude is like, you should understand these things. You know, you watch these videos, you might get an understanding. You watch videos of war and conflict, and then if it ever comes up, you will understand it. In the 1 in 100 million chance you find yourself in a war or conflict, and you've watched these videos, you might have a slight bit of information or understanding that someone else wouldn't that could help you survive.
Yeah. And I can even identify that within myself. The fact that sometimes I do really I'm not going on Twitter today because I don't want to see the extent of it. That is exactly what you're saying. That's actually the wrong thing to do. I just think some people are built differently. It'll affect them in a crazy way, and some it's not as worth it. But you're right.
And be wary of who's posting it, because the visceral reaction you will have to these videos will be used to manipulate you.
That too.
At certain point.
Whatever context
Absolutely.
it's put up. Because if it goes up and it says, this is an Israeli settler, and you're like, you get all this rage, and then you find out later it was like a Sudanese dude or something, and you're like, what in the hell is from 2 years ago? Yep. But your emotions have already fried, and you're built these new neural pathways.
Well, look at the Covington kid story. Mm-hmm. Everyone, even conservatives, were messaging me being like, did you see what this kid did? And I'm like, what did he do? And they're like, look at the video. And I'm like, I have no idea what's happening in this video. There's a kid smiling in front of a guy who's banging the drum.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, but he got in his face. I'm like, I don't see that in the video. Where did that happen? And they're like, well, I'm like, wait, what?
That's a great example of how twisted things were a couple years ago, even more so than now in terms of that stuff, where it's you're watching something and you're not seeing it, but you feel like you have to agree that it's something bad happening when it's a kid just sitting there.
There were a bunch of tweets, like Piers Morgan tweeted this thing where he's like, people are debating. They're asking, were babies beheaded? We used to be outraged that kids were killed. And what these people tried doing, I just get pissed off when you do this. They were trying to change the argument to, is this claim true? And they made the argument, if you question it, you don't care that children died. I'm like, nobody said that. And in fact, the fact that Piers Morgan did say it, he's a scumbag for saying it, and I will not be manipulated by you. You just pissed me off. We're allowed to say killing kids is wrong and recognize they killed kids while still being like, we'd like evidence.
There was
we want
the
to
guy who tweeted he's we don't need evidence. That was just an actual tweet from someone. Evidence isn't necessary. I'm like,
Lindsey Graham on I think it was CNN said bomb Iran, and they were like, just to clarify, even with no evidence. He's like, yeah. And then and this is crazy, was asked, so, the U.S. would be spread very thin. He's like, my dad fought in Japan. My uncle fought in Germany. He was literally invoking World War II to justify war with Iran without evidence right now.
Yeah.
Homeboy's calling for World War III, dude. These people are evil.
Literally.
John McCain is just rolling over in his grave right now, just pissed.
Rolling.
He's just pumped. He's wish he could get out.
He's not rolling. He's banging.
He's trying to get out. He's like, I can't believe I missed this one.
He's like, round 2. Let's go. Round 2.
Just angry. Because then Meghan McCain said something, and they're like, just like Daddy said, right? That's how it is.
It's the anti-war protesters spinning in their graves, Yeah. I don't know who to reference.
Ease
John
at which so many people that, again, like we're saying, have no concept of what it actually is, and are people that are sometimes like me on those days where you don't look, right? It's like the ease at which people land on, go in there, let's fight. It's like people get that too easy.
What do you think George Washington and Ben Franklin would say?
I mean, I don't know.
Wait, George Washington?
If they were here,
I don't think
Thomas
George
Jefferson,
Washington was an orator. He was a general.
Yeah,
he was a pretty good speaker too, but he was in Congress with everybody.
Not to say that he wouldn't say something, though. I think
how would they feel about this? Because obviously the Balfour Declaration's real. The British set up the mandate for Palestine over there after World War I. We're not.
Are you saying that there was no Palestine before that?
It wasn't. I don't know what it was called, but it was it was Ottoman for a while, and then I think they took it from the Ottomans after World War I when the Ottoman Empire blew apart. They got rid of the Ottoman Empire. But it has just changed hands so much. But it's obviously the United States has been involved with the formation of Israel in 1948. What do we do, George? What do we do, you guys? Because they were considered terrorists too. King George called them terrorists.
Yep.
Right. I mean,
well, I don't think he used the word terrorist.
The king, I think he literally did actually.
Did he?
Yeah.
Because terrorism comes from the French Revolution, which was after the American Revolution.
Let me see.
And there is that term. It says one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, and that's something that's going around.
Yes, and I would love to get the perspective of the guys that were called terrorists fighting for their freedom from an oppressive tyrant, because that's what they claim the Palestinians are right now.
But yeah, I think it was the French Revolution where the word terrorism comes from, which was after
Yeah,
the American Revolution.
It's like a whole period of time, but the main was after, yeah.
All right, let's go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show if you like it, and head over to timcast.com, click Join Us. Become a member, because the members-only uncensored show will be particularly spicy and graphic. We have a contentious debate going on. A massively viral tweet from Jackson Hinkle claiming that Ben Shapiro's images of the babies in Israel are AI generated. And we're going to go through this and break it down because I actually did a quick analysis myself. I will not say that it is definitive they are AI generated, but this AI, what's the word? An AI
Detection
detector
program?
There you go. Yeah, detection algorithm claims it is. But these things could be wrong. The Israeli government put out several photos, and one of these photos has been run through the AI detection unit as AI. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in the members only show. And the reason for it is they're graphic images. We're going to keep this one. It's not family friendly, and it'll be on the members show. But let's read. Cultural Abduction says, Tim, you're making fun of Ian now, but when Palestine does become the 51st state, we'll see who's laughing then. Keep it real, Ian, but hope everyone stays safe tomorrow. I'm honestly on edge. Dude, when I read that story, it was like the other day. I actually got like a sinking feeling. I'm like, oh.
What story?
The Hamas is calling for a global jihad on Friday.
Yeah.
And you're just like, and it's Friday the 13th.
I know. With the Ring of Fire eclipse happening the next day. It's like,
That
what is
red
going
heifer.
Couldn't wait till Saturday.
And the red heifer last month.
Yeah, 51st state, but we can't make them do it. It has to be a petition from Palestine.
Weird Nug says, saw a video of Palestinian children talking about how they wanted to stab and run over Jews. Don't know how I feel about it. Yes, it's a video from Gaza. I believe it's Gaza. And they're asking children coming out of school, like, what do they teach you? And the children are like, that, Israel is bad. They're our enemies and we have to win and we're going to win and blah, 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 blah. All right. What do we have here? What is this? Shane H. Wilder says, with Graham chomping at the bit for war, I have been contemplating the song Patriot's Dream by Gordon Lightfoot about patriots who go to fight while the old man in the hill smiles a wicked smile and he sends them off to die. Oof.
Oof, yeah.
Christina Pasafong says, I love you, Blaire.
Love you, Christina.
U-Haul says, why you terminate my producer's account after restreaming last Friday at Miami? Not everyone can afford a paywall in Bidenomics. Oh, I loved this super chat that came earlier. So for those that aren't aware, we did a special event that cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars to put on in Miami, and we sold tickets to it. We also, for a variety of reasons, put it on the website as a members only show, which I explicitly stated like 2 weeks before that we were doing this for several reasons. One, because people in the audience can yell things and we don't want to have to be controlled, like, get the whole show taken off YouTube because people yell things. So we were like, look, it's just better for a lot of reasons to do it on our on the website as a members only. And we need to do things that drive memberships. Right. We need to literally create special programs, events that make it worth being a member. Now, here's the thing. We just about broke even. In fact, I think it's fair to say we arguably did not break even, but we're just about there. A little bit of the merch, maybe after spending a year on working on this event and, hundreds of thousands of dollars, we maybe will come out with like a couple grand, which we then have to put right back in if we want to do more events. And this dude, as a member, screen grabbed the show and broadcast it for free on YouTube, basically spiking our effort. And we're wondering why we did not have a better turnout.
Ew.
And why the member drive didn't work as well. And it's a substantial sum of money lost. And to say that people couldn't afford the $10 just to watch it on the website, bro, fine, whatever, man. But all we did was that when the show wrapped and we got word that someone had broadcast the whole thing out, we did a copyright takedown saying, you can't do this. That's it. That's all we did.
As you should have.
If you're a member and you violate the terms like that, you're going to lose your membership.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it was just...
That's my call.
It's so brutal because we can barely do these events.
And it hurts because if someone's poor and they want to access it, but the rules are you cannot take it and steal it. Man.
None of our speakers got paid. Yeah. And these are speakers who normally get paid because they were willing to do that for us because they're good people. I worked 2 extra weekends and didn't get paid. So, even to say that it was break even is only me, I think, being nice. Because if someone else tried getting me to come to an event and to spend a week in another city and 2 extra weekends of work, insanely expensive for me to want to do that. I'll just say this, the amount of stress traveling doing the show for a week somewhere else. A lot happened behind the scenes security-wise, and it is difficult. And the goal is we want to bring people together.
Yeah.
We want to create cultural events. And then we're also like, it's a good opportunity to do something that makes it valuable to be a member. We want to spend that money. It is stressful for me because I'm like, but we're going to get a lot of new members out of this, and we're going to create something memorable, and we're going to sell this unique merch. And then there's some dude being like, screw your efforts, screw all your hard work, screw all the stress you went through. We're stealing this and giving it to everybody for free. That way you can never do it again. The end result of this is the dude who broadcast it for free to everybody, where like it makes it difficult for us to do it again. If I have to go and say, hey guys, we're not going to break even on this, like who's going to want to do it? It's just me basically just losing money, and it's unsustainable. And then eventually we run out, and then there's no more events. So that one particularly pissed me off.
And as someone who witnessed just on it was easy for me to come to the Austin one you did, but I witnessed how much stress you and the entire team was under.
Crazy.
So all I did was have to walk into the dressing room and say hi and then go on stage. But I saw how much stress you guys were all under, and it's like, yeah, you deserve to be paid for that. You know,
Well, it's not even about deserving to be paid. It's that I want to do events. We want to do more events. If we don't make money, the events stop happening.
right?
Because like, so the tickets were $175 after tax and everything, $200. Why? Otherwise we don't break even. And if we don't break even, it's basically just losing money.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of ways, like the Austin event, I think we lost like, I don't know the numbers, like $20,000 or $30,000. We lost.
I'm not surprised
to do that event. We lost to do that event because we're like building these cultural events and doing this is good. It's something we should do. And then fortunately, Public Square sponsored this event, which is the only reason we actually made it out on top and can do another one. So Public Square, those guys are awesome.
True.
And then after the show, we find out that 13,000 people watched live a free version of it, just ripping us off completely and spiking our
So
efforts.
lame.
Yeah, it was so brutal, dude.
Shout
it was
out
like
to-
getting punched in the stomach and being like all that nightmare of working 48 hours straight with no sleep gone because some dude was like, I don't want to spend $10.
Yeah, man.
I want to shout out to Mosaic, the company that did the AV. I don't, you know better than I do, Serge, but these guys did a spectacular job. Took a lot of the stress off the team, and it was really great working with them.
Yeah.
And
Did
it
all the
looked,
gear and
it
everything.
looked so good.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, to the guy's producer, come on, bro. What the hell?
It's like, it's crazy to me that people are like, no, Tim, you should work for free. You should give us free stuff because we can't afford it. Okay,
Like, Tim,
commies.
remember your Robin Hood roots.
No, it's just like,
Give us taxes.
then that was the last event. If that's the attitude people have, I'm not going to lose another 30
Yeah,
grand
not
to do
the
an event.
not
like
the
it.
night of. If you're going to restream it, maybe we could consider putting it up later for the
It is
public.
up. It went up right
There are
away
clips.
on iTunes and Spotify.
Yeah.
It's up on iTunes and Spotify, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, it's all up.
But it's like we're trying to like survive. We're trying to build a company. We're trying to win a culture where we're trying to do more. And there are people who are like, I deserve it for free. You should work for free. I'm like, that's just the craziest thing.
Hi,
Yeah.
commie.
Yeah. Right.
It's just so crazy to me. It's like, dude, we if I were to bill my hours for the event is negative, heavily negative.
yeah.
Say love you. Let's read some more super chats. Showbase, though, says, every Marine I know, including myself, is armed to the teeth and looking forward to delivering America to these people.
Ooh.
Yikes. Glory be to God says a group of cartel members have called for a purge. If Hamas is being led by the CCP, this could mean that China is using proxy groups to target American civilians. May God have mercy on your souls. That is one of the stories that's come out, that China is trying to draw the U.S. into war on four fronts so that when they take Taiwan, we can't do anything about it.
Spread us thin.
Yeah. The bonus hole says Commander Biden for Speaker of the House, bacon grease IV drips for Hamas. Yikes. That's a
Bonus
one.
hole.
Is that the Biden's dog?
The dog.
Yeah.
He's going to bite
Commander
everyone.
Biden.
He named his dog Commander because we didn't have a commander in the White House. We needed one.
Yes. And then he bit like 12 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alan Shower says, so with Poso's vids today, can Max come back and explain accidental targets of opportunity? That musical failure, Phil Labonte was correct.
Everybody on our show today was calling him the musical failure.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
He's
he's
on the show
great.
today. They're like all the super chats were like, "Oh, it's musical failure, Phil Labonte."
I didn't get the context of that super chat, but I would love to have Max back on anytime.
Posobek's been posting a bunch of videos like showing
Of collateral.
of like showing what Hamas is doing. There's a video. This is one of the videos that I've referenced. They're trying to storm a kibbutz, which has got perimeter fencing. So they hide in the bushes until civilians pull up, run up and execute the civilians. And you can watch the full video in full detail. Yep. And then the car, as soon as the car opens the gate, they kill everyone inside of it and then run inside. It's nuts, man.
It is.
So sick.
Yeah, it's crazy.
God.
Kupo Sooth says, please look up Samir Khan in car with Al-Awlaki. CIA could not authorize a kill order, just waited until they were together and called it collateral damage. Wow. Evil. Crazy, man. All right. What do we have? Jacob Hawley says, Tim and crew, I might not always agree with you or your guests, but I sincerely will be praying and hoping for your safety. Be safe. Look out for your friends and family. Keep on the spiritual journey, Ian. I've been praying with my pastor for you.
Thank you very much. Look for me later on Twitter, probably closer to midnight.
You know what that is? It's all that psychic energy is being directed right at you, and you're absorbing it.
You'll start to dream about me too, but it's not just me.
No, I'm telling like people need to stop praying. Ian's getting ripped, and I saw him levitating, and his eyes were glowing earlier.
You'll notice that when you watch someone a lot, it's kind of like a form of worship. Like if you have someone on the internet that you like to watch and listen to a video blogger, and then they might appear in your dreams and give you wisdom and things like that. Just be careful with cult worship.
Yeah.
True.
Clayton Webb says, will y'all make freeze-dried instant coffee? Want to put it in my gear? That's actually a good idea. I'm not on the surface, it's like, why would we do that? But in terms of people who are going camping or doing survival stuff, then you definitely want something like that. So I don't know if we have the means just yet, but we're working on a bunch of stuff. We're working on supplements, but only a few. I'm not a big fan of like doing the, super brain formula, weird herbal garbage. I don't do any of that stuff. But protein powder and MCT, the reason why we're considering doing it is because I don't like what's on the market.
Yeah.
I will say Jocko Milk is the best protein powder I've ever had. And so that solves a lot of my so I don't know if I need to make a protein powder, but I want an MCT protein blend. So high fat content mix.
True.
Then you just add water and it's like a milkshake. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Go like a Timcast MRE.
I don't know about that. MREs are fun though. Like MREs are fun once a year with your friends. You crack one open and see what prize, like what you get. Ooh, what do I got? I got a weird thing of raspberry jam or something.
The videos do well when people do videos on YouTube of those too.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just, I think you'll die.
You ever see the video of the guy eating like 100-year-old MREs from like the Civil War?
And he's like, oh.
That's like what they don't know is when people come out here back when in the early days of Timcast, when you'd come out here, Tim would then get new people here to try MREs.
They're all downstairs.
Yeah.
What do you mean? We have a bunch.
But I'm saying, back then, like it was like when new people would come in, when there were more people were being hired.
Well,
like, Tim's like, hey, try this MRE.
That's because the MREs had just come.
Yeah.
And they're in a big box. And I'm like, have you ever had an MRE? We got one right here.
It's like watching if you're sweating or not when you're eating it.
Bro, they have iron shavings. And you pour water in it and it oxidizes and heats up, and that's how you cook the food.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, MREs are fun. Yeah. It's like bring your kids out in the backyard and do a little fake camping trip with a tent fun. And have a little MRE or something.
I actually have a bunch of the entree. I ordered the entrees. I would eat them before the show.
Some of them are really good, and some of them are just should be crimes.
Yes. For the most part, the ravioli's fine.
Yeah. It's like Chef Boyardee, you know what I mean? It's
the ravioli and those are fine. Some of them not so much.
I think the pizza is not food, but I still liked it.
We had pizza Lunchables growing up.
You want an MRE?
I just want to eat it.
You want to go run and grab one real quick?
Good. Yeah, where are they?
Do we have any? Are they in the
I
storeroom?
don't know if there's any. I didn't see any down there last time.
Really?
I got a bunch, but they're just I have just the entrees.
Oh, you can see if there's one in the store, and we can pull.
I'll try it.
It's when you go and you turn left, and it's on the shelf on the left.
Is it gonna make me throw up or no?
No. It's just like when you go to the store and you get Hamburger Helper and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just the prefab freeze dried and.
Well, I was gonna say maybe get something that will make me throw up. There's better content, but
see, I like them. But that's because I eat like trash. So
we'll eat them during the members only. We'll crack open an MRE.
That'll be the members only. Get Blaire.
But they don't actually last that long. I think their shelf life is like 2 years.
Yeah, it's not that long.
Yes, but I only got them because it was fun, and it's like we should do a video where we crack open some MREs and eat them.
Yeah, I think
a lot of it's just like not good. You don't want to eat it. It's like a lot of sugar, a lot of carbs.
Yeah.
I can understand if you're in the middle of like a combat zone, you want to just jam some food in your gullet or whatever, but I don't want to eat this stuff. We'll grab some more. What do we got? Bender the Offender says, I work and live near a steel mill in Ohio. If a foreign power invaded the U.S., would the manufacturing plants be targeted for bombing, or do you think they would try to strategically take the plants over? Depends on what they're doing. If it's an invasion, they'd take them over. But there would probably be some degree of damage to them. But people got to understand this about war. You need resources for war.
Yep.
That's it. You can't just invade a country and then shoot. Like, you have to take control. Support your troops.
Yep. Need supply lines and everything.
What have we here? What do we got? Let's grab a super chat. Gunface says, by these people's logic, shouldn't they be put up to pasture since we live on stolen land from the Native Americans?
Exactly.
That's the point a lot of people make. The far leftists will not give up their own property.
NIMBYism.
But
Yeah.
wasn't it Native Americans demanding back a certain, like Vermont or something?
I think so.
Some
I've seen it
politician
before.
said something about it. And they're like, okay, then give us our land back right now. And they're like, well, actually.
Yeah.
Name a land that isn't stolen,
Right.
and maybe I'll take you seriously then if you
Right.
can actually.
And
identify
also,
one.
it's so humanist, right? These people are claiming that Native Americans own the land, the deer and the bears,
Right.
the wolves.
right.
It was
That-
stolen from them.
no, it's speciesist. Is that the word speciesist?
Speciesist.
Speciesist.
Yeah.
That's actually a thing people say.
No, it's the vegans say that, right?
Speciesist or speciest.
Specious,
Right.
I think.
Neglectful Sausage says, even in the future called Star Trek, the people on all the space stations of the Eco-Socialist Federation worked literally nonstop and owned little. Yeah. That is true, but you're referring to the military. Like, Starfleet was effectively like the Navy. So, well, of course, people there worked all the time. They're in military service. But, you know, everyone else on Earth had unlimited food. Star Trek didn't address a lot of the issues that needed to address. Like, I would like to open up the Star Trek universe and then have them explain how the Israel-Palestine conflict got resolved. Like, you're in the future. Oh, those are not MREs.
What
I
are
bring
those?
gifts.
Those are not MREs.
Emergency food
That
storage.
is not an MRE. You grabbed the
This is
wrong
what
thing.
I was handed.
Who handed you that?
Charles.
I know where they are.
Okay.
I know where some of them are.
what do
but-
they look like? Are they white?
No, they're brown.
Brown.
Yeah, they're brown.
They're brown and on the bottom of the
I'm gonna go
shelf.
take
to the
another
left.
look. But these are emergency food, in case you are wondering.
Yeah.
These are pretty good.
Those are the safe and
I'll
ready
leave these
meals.
up here. Maybe we can show them off every once in a while.
Yeah, we'll show them off on the member show because we got them. Creamy chicken flavored rice. These are actually really good.
Yeah, true.
Very delicious. Actually, there was a period where we started cracking open too many of our emergency food buckets because the food is legit good. There's like stroganoff. And we would use it as a base and like cut steak and chicken into it and put cheese. And I'm just like, we're supposed to be saving this.
Yeah.
It's Hamburger Helper. Like these bags that he bought up.
Yeah.
They last for 25 years.
I'm literally
Nice.
getting so hungry.
Yeah.
You need to bring something good up. I swear to God.
Well, the MREs, you're supposed to just open and eat. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
There's like the peach cobbler, but it's, I think it's,
We have that down there. I know where it is, but I can't leave.
but it's just
working
like
right now.
a bag of goo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They taste so good.
Yeah, it does.
It's probably high fructose corn syrup. Victor M says, Tim, you should play Cursed Halo instead of Baldur's Gate 3.
What?
Well, I've done like 4 run-throughs of Baldur's Gate 3 already, so I'm basically done with it. Now I'm just looking
Cursed
at
Halo?
mods.
Oh,
I don't know what Cursed Halo is.
I never heard of
But
that.
I've heard Starfield is too woke. Nobody, and like people are abandoning it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't know. Not sure.
The big problem with Baldur's Gate 3 is that everyone in the game that you can be, like everyone is pansexual and constantly trying to bang you to the point where it's like, it's really annoying and I'm just skipping. I'm like, dude, it's Karlak. Okay, for those that, did you find it? Oh, okay, he found one.
Charles rectified
Here,
it.
let me see.
So what?
you,
What's the
Charles.
actual like food
Chicken
basket?
chunks, white and cooked.
That was the last MRE.
Okay.
Really? The
I
last
think it was
one?
the last. It was the last one in the box I found. Yeah.
No, there's a bunch. Nobody's eating.
There's
them.
like
Yeah.
unopened or they're half open ones.
How do I
and
open
stuff.
this? Do I need a knife or something?
No, I just got a rip on the top.
Yeah, just rip it
Okay,
from the
so I
top.
just bust it open and eat it.
Well, no. You open it as a bunch of little things and there's like a bunch of little bags and pouches and stuff.
There's things you gotta heat. There's like things to
You
heat
want
stuff
some
up,
scissors? I don't know if I
et
can
cetera,
open
et
it, yeah.
cetera.
I'm like, don't break a nail.
Yeah.
All right, did you get it? Are you opening from the wrong spot? These
Am
things
I?
are
I mean,
easy
I
to
handed
open.
a certain.
Oh
spot.
yeah.
Okay, that was my fault. My bad.
These things are super easy to open. You just tear it. What are you doing?
I saw an MRE out of the Ukraine. And I don't know if
Yeah,
it's
just
a real
popped
video or
right
not,
open.
but it was like
What do we
a
got?
fish. It's a
Okay.
fish out of a bag.
All right, let's see.
Hold it up so the camera can see it.
So this is what it looks like.
With the
Yeah.
directions, the
Hi.
heat. They have a heating element and stuff too.
So this is chicken. Let's see. Is it
Now you got to
chicken
open
by the
another
sea?
bag. There's Reese's in there.
Really?
Yeah, you want to eat those?
If I need to get like this pen.
See, it's secure because it's
This
for when you're in
bag.
the battlefield. You know?
It is secure, and I will say that. But if I was really on a battlefield, I don't know if I'd open it.
Yeah, it's kind of loud.
Oh, they do have Reese's. And
Are those-
it's not even like an off-brand. It's
Reese's
real
Pieces.
It's original.
That's sick. I'm gonna start with these. Actually.
What are the other ones? What's that one? Trail
All right.
mix.
Trail mix.
Chicken chunks.
This is definitely.
Let me see it.
It's like saucy
saucy.
or like liquidy.
chicken chunks.
Moist
Nice.
towelette.
Okay.
I mean, that can come in handy. You know.
What do you
What are
do
these
with?
small
Is it
things?
mayonnaise or something? What do you do with chicken chunks? Do you like
Cheese
barbecue?
spread.
Yeah, they got
Oh.
crackers.
So you put the chicken chunks on cheese on crackers with cheese.
Wait, this is looking like a whole feast. Actually,
Yeah, it's
like
a-
I
it's a
could
dinner.
really actually
It's all dinner,
be
yeah.
fine with this.
What'd you get?
Tortillas. Oh my God,
Oh,
we have
yeah.
everything. Are you kidding? I thought it was gonna be some like
is-
gnarly shit.
What is that?
First strike energy bar.
Oh,
Gonna
there you
need
go.
energy in that battlefield. You know.
What is that one? Orange powder, orange drink.
Rehydration.
Electrolyte.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Powder.
So I guess you put your chicken chunks on your tortillas and put cheese on them.
Wait,
Yeah, sounds
I don't
like
see
it.
the chicken chunks though. Am I?
It's that gray bag right
It's
there.
this. Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay, so what should I eat? Tell me what to eat.
I think eat the chicken.
You got to
chunks.
open the
Chicken
tortillas
I
first.
think eat the chicken chunks. with the
Okay.
spoon.
Tortillas.
Oh, so
with
there's
the
also a
spoon? Well, no, you
spoon?
put them on the tortilla with cheese, and you're making a chicken quesadilla.
Okay.
That sounds awful. By the way, but I bet it tastes good.
Not the chicken chunks and the cheese spread.
I could literally go get one of the spaghettis or something like that. Might be more appetizing.
Okay, look, it's a whole Taco Bell moment.
Yeah, look, tortillas.
Hey.
Nice.
Loving that.
And
All
then
right.
I think I was the only
Yeah.
person in the world that liked taco Lunchables. I was.
Taco Lunchables?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was a thing.
taco Lunchables.
Oh yeah, that was a thing.
I remember those. I think.
Before
So
you were
really
born,
don't
Serge.
cook this?
Oh,
Yeah, you just eat it.
Come on.
It's like we have cans of chicken downstairs. You crack them open and you just eat them.
All right, I'm gonna
That
fold
looks
it
pretty
with
good,
a little
actually.
tortilla.
You gotta put
moment.
cheese on it.
I'm not a big cheese person. Okay, I'm gonna try the chicken.
Live react.
There you go.
I'm getting that it's.
What does it taste? Is it good?
I don't want to be dramatic. It's not great. The tortilla's fine. The chicken,
Is it dry?
it's tasting like
Well, you know,
not chicken. You know?
Is there like hot sauce or something, or mayonnaise or something? Pepper.
I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not. Tiny afterkick. Tiny afterkick.
Bad one. What is that?
Not great. Hot sauce, actually.
Oh,
so
see,
you know
that's
what?
us.
We're gonna do that. We're gonna try that hot sauce.
Oh, careful. That will be really gooey. It'll probably
Oh,
spill.
this is gonna explode on me.
Maybe some scissors. You got any
That's what she
scissors
said.
over there?
No, not right here.
Let's. We'll read some more super chats
That's
as this is
risky.
going on. Ryan, the Eating Warrior, says, second coming, Jesus comes back with a flaming sword to lead an army.
Oh yeah. What's the flaming sword in the Bible? I'm trying to figure it out. Did they actually have blowtorches?
No.
No, it's a flaming sword, dude.
Yeah,
literally
but,
flaming
but what's it
sword.
really?
A flaming sword.
Flaming
Probably
sword,
lit it
man.
on fire, right?
Yeah.
But,
I kind of want one of those tacos.
like they oiled it up
Bro,
and then
there
set
was
the
like
oil on
there's
fire.
a bush that was on fire that wasn't like degrading. Like there's a lot of stuff in the Bible that's not exactly like real, but I think they really mean a flaming
You want a
sword.
tortilla?
We'll do it after when in the members only. I'll make one.
The mukbang and the members
Just don't
only.
destroy them all like that. Just
Oh yeah, I'm
I was picturing
Save
dudes
one
with
for
like
me.
little blowtorches, and then if you got close to them, they'd kick it on really hard, and the flame would shoot out, and they'd stab you with the flame. I'm like, oh yeah, flaming sword.
Yeah, crazy.
That's awesome, actually.
Okay, here's an Legama says some of the things said here, mainly by Ian, so ridiculous, so inaccurate, allowed to stand on their so pseudo merits with no debunking, would be the easiest debunks in history. It's disgusting, almost sacrilegious. Millions of minds fed nonsense. I still support Timcast. Well, thank you for the super chat.
But the reason why your super chat was sort of like lame is because there were no specifics. All you got to do is say one of the things I said and why, and then we can have a talk about it.
That's true. You could have you could super chat and just be like, here's what Ian is wrong about. Boo, boo, boo. You know, you could do 10 different super chats at $10. But I appreciate it.
Oh, this
A
is
lad who ate 4 dozen eggs says $10 is expensive, Tim. I understand that.
How much did
For
he
some
pay to
people.
tell you that?
$10.
$10.
Right. I understand.
Anyone want Reese's? All right.
Well, I'm gonna wait till the after show. Normally, I just like to we have peanut butter cups, Quest ones. They have like no sugar, but there's Splenda in them, so I don't really want to eat them.
Yeah, I'm good now.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Let's see what we got. Polly Puree says there was never a Palestine in human history. Mark Twain, the author, visited the Israel region in 1856 and said that not a single person lived in that region.
Yeah.
The Jews began rebuilding it several decades later.
Yep. That's what I was saying the other day on the show is that it was basically barren land, and until the Jews were actually there and making civilization, then people moved in, and now they're claiming it's their ancestral lands.
All right, what do we have? Let's grab some more. Seabass says Jews are still looking for their Messiah, which Christians believe that is the Antichrist, and Christians believe Jesus is the Messiah and is coming back to save the Jews, which would be the second coming.
The Christians think that the second coming is the Antichrist, or that the Jewish first
No.
coming is the Antichrist, and that there will be a second coming that's different than that person.
During the second coming, there will be an Antichrist that comes and leads people astray, essentially. That's not the same as the second coming of the Messiah. So before the second coming occurs, there will be an Antichrist. It's part of the whole the whole.
But the Christian second coming is the Jewish first coming. It's the same guy.
Yes, because the Jewish
Then that
Jewish,
super chat was wrong. Then
the Jews do not believe that there was a first coming of the Messiah. They're still in. Remember, Jesus was Jewish. They were waiting for the fulfillment of all the previous prophecy in the Torah and the Talmud, etc. And then they don't believe that Jesus was the Messiah.
Whoa, look at this. What the Heck says, shout out to Jefferson Spirits, a bar in Medford, Oregon, for getting shut down by the OLCC from 10/11/23 to 11/11/23 for a masking violation back in 2020.
Wow, dude.
Wow.
Evil people, dude.
That's
for
like
real.
sick and twisted beyond.
Yeah. Especially right now.
My God.
Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says cheese spread was the bestest of the best.
I used to squirt that stuff out of
But
the
it's
can.
that word spread that I don't like.
Easy
Just like the
cheese.
chicken chunks and the cheese spread. Just call it chicken, just call it cheese. It's weird to me. I don't know.
Chicken chunks.
I
I
don't
also don't
think-
trust the tortillas because it's going to be like brominated plastic cardboard.
Yeah, it's probably the worst
I
part,
don't think
honestly.
you were supposed to put the spread on the chicken.
It goes on the
this one. I
crackers?
think it goes on the crackers.
And the hot sauce goes.
Spread on the chicken just sounds gross.
What? It's a quesadilla.
Yeah, it's just
I literally feel like such a piece of shit just sitting here eating.
What do you make a quesadilla? You know, you take the tortilla, put the chicken and the cheese on it.
I think it's just supposed to be the chicken and the hot sauce.
I really do think they could have done better. Like these MREs, like there could be better
See, you could make your own. That's what I'm saying.
gourmet
and
MREs.
people would buy it.
Make your own.
We'll get Andrew Gruel on this one.
There you go.
yeah,
That's
You'll
what
like
I'm saying.
you'll rip up in the bag and then slide out a plate with like this perfect chef designed
You're in a war
caprese
zone.
salad, and you pull it out and it's perfectly preserved, nothing rotted for some reason. That's kind of the thing. Like you can't have good stuff. All right, what do we got? Joan says, "Hey all, love the show. Question for Ian: any more plans to update your feed for subscribers on X?"
Oh,
Thanks.
yeah, but I don't know what to do exactly, and I always feel guilty keeping anything from behind a paywall. It's just part of this weird charitable thing I've got going. But I would love to. I should do just something every week, but I don't want to do something lame where you're like, this is what I get, but it's like you're getting nothing right now. I always basically put in my work. I could just do my workouts. I mean, they're not like spectacular. It's just me, biceps, shoulders, quads.
You deserve to make money off of what you do and what you give to the world. I don't think you should feel weird about that.
It was actually Ian
it's
who
weird.
secretly sent
It is a
this.
communist thing. The idea that profit is somehow something to be guilty of is a weird communist idea.
Yep.
Profit is literally like, hey, I just did some work and I feel that I would like to trade the work that I did for something in exchange. And then communists are like, they want to abolish profit. There's something the DSA says, abolish profit. Profit is just literally what you are getting for yourself. This is crazy. You spend $20 on some wood and some nails. You then do the work to make a birdhouse and then say $25. That $5 is so that you can buy food. And they're like, no, you shouldn't be allowed to.
Right.
So then how do you get food? You don't. All right.
There's like this thing going on where it's like if you look at like the leftist comics on like Kickstarter or anything like that, they'd always make this point to like point out like this is where all the money from this Kickstarter is going to, and they would make perfectly clear that like we're not taking anything home because they understand that the people that are in their audience would be absolutely appalled at the idea of them making any money whatsoever.
All right, everybody. If you haven't already, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel. Go to timcast.com, click join us because the members only show is starting in a few minutes. It'll be on the front page of the website. And we're going to be talking about allegations that images shared by Israel are fake. And we'll break down my assessment so far, but nothing's definitive, but we'll show you. And the photos are pretty graphic. That's why it's going to be members only. Smash the like button. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Blaire, do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BlaireWhiteX, or just Google Blaire White. And go watch the crazy debate I was just in because you're going to have a lot of entertainment from it. I debated a clown, a literal person dressed as a clown. Look it up.
But yeah, not a joke. Not a joke.
No, it was a clown.
Yeah.
Guys, if you want to follow me, you can follow me at Brett Dasovic on Twix and on Instagram. And please go check out Pop Culture Crisis Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific, right here on YouTube. Come hang out with us.
I'm Ian Crossland. Follow me at Ian Crossland and hit me up on Twitter later around midnight Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be going live. It might be before that. Could be a little bit after that. And we'll talk. We'll go deep. Lots of people. I like having people. I had about 12 people. I had about probably 20 people came up and spoke yesterday, or maybe 10 or 12 so we'll keep doing that. But for now, we're going to timcast.com for the after show.
And just for everybody else, tomorrow morning at youtube.com/Timcast, 10 a.m. on the Culture War, Ann Coulter and Dinesh D'Souza. So this is going to be
big.
awesome.
I'll be
It's
watching.
a very, very in-depth conversation, deep in politics. And I think with guests this amazing, it's going to be a very, very great conversation. I am honored to have them here. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Serge.
Yeah, and I am here as well. I'm Serge.com on Twix. I'm going to keep calling it Twix until we figure out what the hell we're going to call this site anymore. I'm excited for tomorrow, but I'm not going to be here. It'll be Kellen doing the show. So yeah, it'll be sweet.
All right, everybody. We will see you all at timcast.com in about a minute. Thanks for hanging out.